If you've ever been excited to break a couple of really bad streaks in one day, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back to another edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. Happy Monday. I almost can't even believe I'm going to say it, but it is a victory Monday here. It's been a while since I've been able to say those words, so I will enjoy that here today. We do have some news. Semis are going crazy. It's January 6th. We're back. All of the holiday stuff is over. It's time to buckle down and get ready for another week of the market. Let's go ahead and break everything down. Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday, January 6th. Welcome back to another edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, where we get all of the stories ready for you to go. We're also going to discuss the movers, break some stuff down, and get you ready for the market day. And it's a victory Monday. Sorry, Fairchild. Appreciate your candor in the matter, but I don't get many of these, so I'm going to enjoy them when I get them. Hugh, good morning. It's good to see you again. Kayla, welcome back. Good morning. Jaywalker, good morning. White Chocolate Mocha, we are starting our week off correct with White Chocolate Mocha. PJ Trader, Sean, Fairchild, Paul, Sideshow, Yakshimash, Diamond, Drew, Jonathan, Sun-Kissed Yogi, Hustle and Bustle, Bernard, River, Ralph, Bobby G, and Chuck. Good to see all of you returning faces. Good morning and happy Monday. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I hope that your weekend was good. For any of you that were on extended vacations like I was, I hope that your holidays and New Year's season was good. We are right back at it. 2025 has begun with a bang, frankly. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of news out there. And we're going to see where that takes the market. Along the way, we're going to try and extract some of those gains. Let's go ahead and bring on Benzinga Pro, and let's take a look at exactly where we sit. Envious, good morning. It's good to see you. Is Sam, good morning. Larry, good morning. Day Trader, good morning. Okay, can the Qs keep rolling, asks Bobby? Well, I'll tell you what, the news here today sure looks like it. We're going to cover that here in a sec. We are going to start with the SPY. Green arrows across the board on the futures here today. Okay, green arrows. Let me get that. S&P futures up 0.3% here today. Dow futures up just under 0.5%, up about 0.4% here today, and the Nasdaq up a full percent. Nasdaq leading the way higher here. We'll talk about that Foxconn numbers report that we got out here shortly. I do really quickly want to start with the SPY. All right, we're currently at like 596 here in the pre-market. This took us above the 50-day moving average, which we really struggled with last week. We were under it. We wouldn't break down. We actually used 582.30 as a support while we were there, but we were unable to break above and close above the 50. Today's action here does gap us above that 50-day moving average. So we'll see where the SPY actually closes the day after the regular session. The other thing that you can see here is that we popped above the SPY, but we're just shy of that 20-day moving average. So can we break that and close above that? We shall see. That'll be something else to watch here. The other thing to watch in terms of levels is going to be the high from Thursday, December 26th. This was the day after Christmas. By the way, Santa Rally did not happen this year. No Santa Rally. I think that makes 2 years in a row where we didn't have the Santa Rally. See if we get one next year. But now that we didn't really sell off, right? Now that we kind of came down a little bit, we are curling back up. Do we continue to curl back up, or is this the start of a larger down move? We'll have to wait and see. Those levels to get above, we talked about the 50. We talked about the 20-day moving average here at 596.96. The other level there, that final one, is going to be the day high, or the high from Thursday, December 26th. That value is 602.48. So as far as upside levels here, 596.96, you just want to call that 597 giddy up, and then 602 and a half. 602 and a half going to be your two upside levels here on the SPY. We'll see what we get. Do have some good news here this morning that's driving tech and chips higher. We'll see if that helps the SPY close above some of these key levels. All right, as far as some of the news goes, we're going to start with the market being closed on Thursday. So I know we just got out of the New Year's holiday, and prior to that, we had the Christmas holiday, which forced the market closure. Well, we get another closure here this week. The U.S. stock, we talked about this last week, the U.S. stock market will be closed this Thursday. That is Thursday, January 9th, in observance of President Carter's funeral. I know we had one of his funerals over the weekend. I guess there's another one that's coming on Thursday. The market will be closed. So I actually did not get a chance to talk to my producers about what our schedule is going to be here. I'm assuming there's not going to be a show. We're just going to play some type of rerun content with the market being closed, but I'll update you as soon as I get that. Just understand you will not be able to trade. So if you trade for a living, you get a free day off here with that market closure. So when you wake up, there's not going to be a lot going on. That is why. Okay, let's go to a market overview. Okay, let's go to a market overview real quick. U.S. stocks to open higher in yet another truncated week, as we just discussed, being led by NVIDIA, robotic stocks, which are in focus ahead of CES 25. So CES 2025, maybe they call it CES 25. In any case, CES is this week. And that's with the backdrop here of the positive report that we got. Maybe this will be a positive week for tech stocks. So remember, NVIDIA and some of those other robotic stocks are going to be at CES. We've actually seen some of these smaller companies talk about being at CES. I think SES was one of the tickers from last week. There are some of the smaller companies that are going to be there too. All of these stocks, frankly, are going to be on watch. It's worth watching the news flow and then the trading action for all of these different vehicles here. CES is likely to produce some type of market moving headline. Maybe if not the whole market, then some of these individual names that we should be able to capture. As far as the tech sector leading the way here, we're actually going to move to the SMH chart. This is going to be your semiconductors chart. SMH and all of the chips. That's basically what this next story affects here. Apple supplier Foxconn posts record revenue, rides high on AI server demand and the NVIDIA's partnership. Foxconn revenue was up 15.17% annually and 15.03% sequentially. So really good numbers there out of Foxconn. Remember, as far as Apple goes, we've talked about this a lot. We talked about Apple, whether or not this is bullish, whether or not this is going to be a good stock going forward. We've talked about channel checks. We've talked about slowing sales, slowing iPhone sales in China, all of that stuff. And I've said a number of times, every time we get an opportunity or every time we get a piece of news about channel checks and the iPhone not really doing well, this, that, and the other thing, it normally represents a buying opportunity for Apple. And it looks like, at least so far, we'll see where we end up closing up today. At least so far, that has happened again. Apple was higher here in the pre-market. Looks like it traded above 245. It's come back in a little bit. We'll see where we finish the day here. But in any case, this is also having a dramatic effect on a lot of the other chip stocks. So if we take a look at SMH here, you can see our current price is at 258.55. So we are trying very, very hard to break out of this sideways formation that we've been in pretty much since the end of the summer, right? We were breaking down a little bit here, started to break down in July, reached the low on August 5th. In SMH, we bounced a little bit, and we've pretty much been in that range the rest of the year. So with this piece of news, with some other tech stocks participating in an upside rally, are we able to break out of this sideways channel, maybe challenge that double top here around 280, 281 and go higher here on SMH? There are obviously some other stocks that we should take a look at. We mentioned Apple. I'm sure folks are going to look at Apple, but other stocks to keep in mind with piece of this news is going to be Broadcom, ticker AVGO. This is another one that we've talked about recently. This has a pretty awesome formation up here. Sure looks like this is going to try and break out. We'll see if this has some continued strength or have those buyers actually been exhausted over the last couple of weeks with this move higher. Broadcom would be one of those. I know AMD gets talked about on this show all of the time. I know a number of you folks actually trade AMD pretty regularly. This actually had kind of a disappointing chart, right? This chart a little bit lower than some of those other tech stocks. This also popping here up about 3% in the pre-market. Maybe we'll get an opportunity here. One thing to keep in mind with AMD is going to be this 500-day moving average. I've got this at 131, but realistically, 130 to 131 is going to be that area of resistance. And if we can pop above that, look how well this is actually set up for a trade. You have a number of levels outlined by some moving averages, and they're pretty evenly spaced apart. Pretty good targets here for a long side trade if this keeps up in AMD. Again, I know a number of you talk about AMD. We, of course, wouldn't be a show, frankly, without mentioning NVIDIA. NVIDIA, we talked about this recent head and shoulders that did send it down to the 100-day. I'll tell you what, though, it sure looks like NVIDIA is going to try 150 and maybe even higher here. I have the actual high print on NVIDIA right here from Thursday, November 21st. That high print, 152.89. So we'll see if we can get above that. I would still watch that 150 round area. Likely to be some resistance there. And you know what? If we see NVIDIA move through that, you might have a momentum mover on your way. So keep in mind, we're also expecting headlines out of CES. Jensen Huang is going to have a keynote early in CES. So NVIDIA likely going to be moving quite a bit on some of that. Okay. Something to keep in mind. Hugh saying never had luck with AMD. Yeah, I know how it goes, man. It's been one of the tougher ones. AMD, of course, had that huge move from 3 to where it is now over a number of years, but it has been tough recently. And you know, another thing here, real quick, Hugh. Now that you've kind of reminded me, I want to see some breakouts, right? Like I actually want to go through some of the PRs and go through some of the things that happened at CES. I won't be watching any of it live. I'm sure I'll see clips on FinTwit and such. But I really kind of want to stay on top of that. I really want to know what's happening. And I really want to know if there's any opportunity for us. We've talked a lot about the market. You know, what are we going to do in 2025? Are we going to get rate cuts? How many rate cuts are we going to get? Is the market going to be green in 2025? January here is starting off pretty good. Does that mean that the rest of this year is going to be pretty good? Obviously, we have a new administration incoming, tax reform on the table. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to get through here this year. So I don't necessarily want to get in the habit of chasing up moves, especially if the market is going to be schizophrenic and just kind of pull back right after that. What I would rather do is confirm a change in trend and then kind of ride that trend. And maybe we will get one in technology. So we'll see here if NVIDIA can end up breaking higher here. I'll tell you what, this chart looks pretty good. This pull down to the 100-day moving average at 131. That gave really, really good support. We had a number of days where we were really trying to break higher here. NVIDIA wouldn't quite give, and now it has gave. So we'll see if we put in some new all-time highs here with NVIDIA. Keep your ears peeled for anything coming out of CES 2025 this week. Next thing we want to talk about here is going to be natural gas. I'll bring up the UNG chart here just because we talk about this one all of the time. Natural gas, we've really kind of been talking about this the end of last year into this year as the bridge to nuclear for clean energy. Natural gas is extremely cheap. We are seeing kind of a cold spell here across the Midwest. So we'll see what that does here for natural gas. Let me actually get you a price of the commodity here real quick. Natural gas here up off the lows that we saw, 362 here today, plus about 8% on the back of that. I know we had some snowstorms. I guess there's a snowstorm affecting the East Coast here where they're going to certify the election today. Again, here in the Midwest, we're actually expecting some more snow. We already have really, really cold temps, and those are expected to last through the week. So we'll see what kind of effect that has on natural gas. I know Anne-Marie recently gave out a boil trade that has been cooking. See if we get any more trades here on natural gas. Jumps 8%, dollar cools, Asia and Europe markets mixed, global markets today while the U.S. slept. So that's kind of what's going on around the world. We'll see if natural gas kind of gives us any type of trade with any of those. And then thank you, producer, for reminding me. We're going to run a poll in the chat today for rate cuts. How many rate cuts do you think we're going to see here in 2025? I'd be really curious to get the temperature of the group. I want to see what some of the varying opinions were. I know we had first talked about 4 or 5, and that's kind of come back into 2. If inflation returns, maybe there won't be any. A lot of stuff to kind of figure out there. So I'd really like to get the pulse of the group here. Producer's going to handle that for me in terms of a poll. So Really good stuff there. Okay, let's talk about Uber next. That's ticker UBER. Here is your Uber 15-minute chart. You can see we are spiking here today. News catalyst here. Uber just announced at 7:10 this morning, Uber Technologies entered an accelerated share repurchase agreement to repurchase 1.5 billion of shares of common stock. So, okay, really good there. Repurchase program. You can see this actually took Uber. Where did we close? Closed at about 64 last week. You can see we actually traded above 69 earlier today, settling here just shy of 68. Let me go ahead and get some of my time frames back here real quick. Let's take a look at the daily chart here. Uber, I feel like we talk about quite a bit for a potential trade. I feel like we've seen some recent option flow on this too, although I do admit over the last 2 weeks here, I can't necessarily place any unusual options flow that I'd be tremendously interested in. But I know that these are often traded here. You can see on the daily chart what happened. We really came into 60. We did an excellent job holding that $60 level. Multiple tests of that level just refused to break down. We reclaimed the 20-day moving average on the way back up. And now we have this gap that's taking us right to the 50-day. We didn't quite test that 50 days at 68.57. Let's call it 68.5, if you will. We'll see if we're able to take that out. 70.5 is where the 200-day is. So if we pop above that, that gives you a target for where this stock can go. Share repurchase, accelerated share repurchase plan, generally pretty good. RSI looks pretty good. A lot of stuff here that kind of makes for this to be a fairly decent trade here. The one thing to keep in mind here with this, and again, I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but one thing to see is, does Uber Eats, now that we're kind of in the death throes of winter in a lot of the country, especially with temperatures really dropping, do people use the Uber Eats side of Uber more? Does that actually help the stock? I think the share repurchase is going to be a pretty good launching pad for this. We'll see if we can get back above 70. If we can, we should start looking at some higher levels here. I know 80 is going to be one, and then that all-time high at about 86. We'll see if we get that on Uber. Interesting stuff. I am going to take, now that we've seen some of this news here, and that share repurchase can actually last for a while, I'm going to be interested to see if there's any unusual option flow on this Uber name. And do me a favor, keep your ears peeled for that as well. If you guys see any of that, let me know. Sometimes Uber and Lyft actually can be pretty good targets for unusual option flow. So we'll see if we end up getting that. Conditionally accepted said, so far rate cuts only help the banks. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If they cut too quickly, and inflation really isn't under control, we run the risk of inflation being entrenched, inflation maybe ticking back up. I mean, hustle and bustle, that would be terrible. From your day job. If rates continue to move higher or stay higher here, it's going to be bad for the housing market and other stuff as well. So we'll see where that ends up going. We'll see how that ends up playing out. Yeah, and we'll see what kind of trade ideas we end up getting for that. Tenzin saying, I'm already 8K up on Uber Leaps. Well, there you go. So you're pretty much just making my point for me. You play Uber options. In this case, you're playing longer term options. You're up pretty good on this move here today. That would get even better, especially if you cross that 70 line. So there you go. And then Tenzin saying, sheesh, I've been waiting for a share repurchase forever. Well, looks like you're finally getting it here today. So good stuff there, Tenzin. This should be a pretty good Monday for you here. Keep us posted on what you're going to do with that trade going forward. Nice that you have a winner on your hands. Okay, next, we talked a little bit about the weather, some of the airlines. We'll see if this has any effect. Delta, Southwest, American, and other airlines halt over 1,300 flights on Monday after a severe winter storm. Again, that winter storm affecting a lot of the Midwest, a little bit more south here than Chicago. I haven't seen much snow. I mean, I woke up today to a dusting. I guess there's some more in the forecast, but we'll see what we actually get. A little bit further south of us got absolutely blasted. I think like Kentucky and Kansas got absolutely creamed. Indiana got absolutely creamed with some snow. So, like I said, that's likely affecting the natural gas prices here. And of course, it's going to affect some of these airline stocks with flight closures. Now, the good news here on this is that obviously this isn't some like system issue or glitch or airplane maintenance or airplane problem or anything like that. I'll be honest, we've had so much bad news in the airline industry, whether it's Boeing or anything else. A little bit of weather, a little bit of weather, stopping some flights, not the end of the world. I'd rather have that happen than door plugs blowing off and all the other stuff. So honestly, we'll see if the stocks are affected by this at all. Really don't think it's the end of the world for some of these stocks. We'll see. I do like Delta here the most. As far as some of these airlines, I know we talk a little bit about United Airlines and American Airlines. Delta, easily my favorite to trade. Sure looks like it's trying to recapture its 50-day moving average here. We'll see on that. And I did want to take a look at the love chart. I know several of you do trade Southwest Airlines. At least it gets asked about quite a bit. Southwest, potential breakout above 35 if we can do it. Down about 0.5% here on that news regarding the weather. And then gold, I guess we'll take a look at ticker GLD here. Have another call from Goldman. Goldman pushes back 3,000 gold forecasts on fewer rate cuts here. So again, rate cuts dominating the news cycle. Interest rates dominated the news cycle for a lot of 2024. I suspect we're going to have similar types of news and hanging on every word for rate cuts here in 2025 until we get a little bit clearer of a picture. Looking at the GLD chart here, this actually looks pretty good, right? We've had a nice little move up to this area. We're consolidating a little bit. I could easily see this making another move higher. RSI is not even totally overcooked here on this GLD chart. So, okay, that pretty much does it for the news. Not a whole lot going on. The NFL concluded its regular season yesterday. And it has really nothing to do with stocks. I guess one of the things we could take a look at is DKNG. I know we spoke last week about earnings coming up here. Let me see if I can actually set the stage. I don't want to get my dates confused here. This is something that I'm definitely still watching, by the way. Okay, DraftKings has their earnings date unconfirmed for February 13th. I believe the Super Bowl is February 9th. Super Bowl 2025 date. February 9th, Sunday, February 9th is indeed the Super Bowl here. So what we've seen in DraftKings before is a run up into one of these big sporting events, whether it be the Super Bowl or a draft, and almost a sell the news event, a move down after that. This is also going to kind of coincide with DraftKings earnings. Right. So if we actually take a look last year, they reported on the 15th. I believe the Super Bowl last year was on the 11th. So it was right after the Super Bowl. We talked with Anne Marie about setting up maybe a trade, maybe a potential run into that binary event. And we should also take a look for a trade after that event, depending on how it reacts to that. This would be another ticker to really kind of keep your eye out for unusual option trading. I'm going to, of course, watch Benzinga Pro and the algorithm there, but I'll also pay attention to some of my other option trader buddies just to see if there's anything unusual that crosses the wire here. We did see a little bit of that last week in DraftKings. We'll see if we get some more. Here this week. The chart here on DraftKings, really good job holding 36. We did bounce from that, and there is like kind of a clustered up area of a number of these moving averages here. Really kind of starts at 38 and a quarter, or 38 and 3/4, excuse me, and then really goes to 40 and a quarter. So about this $3 area here represents some really, really tough resistance for DraftKings to get above. I think if we do 45, really might make the next target there. So we'll see if we get that as well on DraftKings. If we see a breakdown here, I'd really like to see a hold of that 500-day moving average, which is the purple line on the chart that I'm showing you here. I think if we did that, that would also make for a pretty good swing long opportunity on DraftKings. Okay, and then conditionally accepted, you're also bringing up Flutter. That's a really good idea. I know we talk about DraftKings a lot when we talk about some of the gambling here. Flutter, ticker FLUT. This is, of course, FanDuel's parent company. This stock seems to have much better performance than DraftKings. I know it's more expensive, harder to buy a whole lot, but sure looks like they're doing a pretty good job here. The one thing to note with FLUT is the interaction with the 200-day. It is very, very clear that this is a support level. When we break the support level, we do trade under it. It's not insignificant. It provides pretty good resistance and support, as you can see right here. We provided some resistance when we traded back up in December of 2023. Once we moved above it now, we're really kind of riding above it. I know we're a little bit extended from the 200-day here, but Flutter, this seems to be doing a lot better than DraftKings. I'm glad that you brought this up. I know when we talk about gambling, I just default to DraftKings because it's more liquid. It's the one that seems to be more widely known, but this is a really good mention here. Flutter seems to be executing. So Flutter has some of the bookies that the producer uses, and let me tell you, I'm basically donating money to them. I'll say this: I've been on just an absolute heater recently. And in fact, normally with sports, I don't bet a whole lot in sports gambling. I bet very nominal amounts. So when I lose, which I anticipate doing, it never really affects me. But I like to place bets that are 10-1 or higher, so that when I win, I feel like I'm actually winning something. And really the last several weeks right around this holiday has been great for me. So much so that not only do I have a bunch of money still in my betting account to place more bets on, but I actually withdrew money to my checking account because I won so much, several $100s. So again, not a huge sports bettor. I like it because it's fun. I do it in very, very small amounts, but I was actually able to stack some gains big enough to make a withdrawal. But producer, I got flattened this weekend. I think I placed over the course of the weekend, I think I placed 7 or 8 total bets. 0 for 8. Didn't cash a single one of them. I'm still up pretty big because my several weeks have been pretty good, but I'm with you there. It definitely feels like I donate. Okay. That takes care of the news. Oh, we should run down the economic events. We already talked about the market being closed on Thursday in observance of President Carter's funeral, so there will be no market all day on Thursday. However, we do have some other economic data points to keep in mind here this week. Tomorrow, we actually, at 10 a.m., we have the JOLTS job openings, the ISM services PMI. So we might get a market reaction on that data print here tomorrow. That's going to be after the market opens. On Wednesday, prior to the market opening at 8:30 in the morning, we actually have the initial jobless claims. And then, of course, while the market is open, got the FOMC minutes. So we just spent a lot of time talking about rates and what might happen and all of that and year-end targets and all of that stuff. We're going to have a little bit of some more data to digest. I wanted to call it clarity, but I'm not even sure we can call it clarity. We're going to have some more data to digest there on Wednesday at 2 p.m. when we get those minutes. Thursday, where the market is closed, we have a bunch of Fed speeches during the day. So Harker, Barkin, Schmidt, and Bowman are all going to be talking. I'll be honest with you, at least my knee-jerk reaction to this is, well, gosh, I'm glad they're doing it on a day when the market's closed. We'll see how I feel about that on Friday morning. If there's a big reaction to that, as I will not be participating in the futures market. So despite the market being closed, we are going to have some Fed people talking. Remember, this is after the minutes. So the big stuff that is happening, hopefully we will have learned from the minutes and it won't be sprung on us on a day when the market is closed from some of the Fed members. So we'll see how that all shakes out, and then we'll make sense of that on Friday. Friday in the morning, as if we didn't have enough of a punch list to do from the day prior, we're going to have the non-farm payrolls at 8:30 in the morning. Okay. So, and then the Michigan consumer sentiment at 10. So no rest for the weary this week. Even if we do get a day off, we actually have some data prints bookending that day off, and we're going to expect some market volatility this week. So we'll see which way we go. Quick look at the futures here just to see what happened in the pre-market. If anything changed from when we started talking, looks like we still got green arrows across the board. S&P futures still up 0.3% here. Dow futures up just under 0.5% at 0.4. And the NASDAQ is still leading the way higher here, plus 1% in the pre-market. Now, okay, let's see. It is 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Boy, am I talking quickly? Maybe I only had 2 cups of coffee today. I didn't turbocharge it. But we did roll through all of the news there. Let me quickly catch up and see if there's anything I missed. I know you guys are talking about some of the movers here. We're absolutely going to do that as usual. I'm trying to stall so that we can go over them with 13. But I'll be happy to start them a little bit earlier if we need to. Let me see real quick. Gob Dan kind of asking a generic question here. So I'm going to change tracks for a little bit and talk about this. This is an interesting question, and Gob, I don't really think there's an easy answer for this. So let's just talk about this here real quick. The question here is, when should you hold through a reverse split? And on the surface, I generally want to answer this question that you shouldn't hold through a reverse split. Remember, reverse splits are shrinking the outstanding shares. Forward splits are increasing the outstanding shares. So generally speaking, if your company is splitting, it's doing really well. If it's reverse splitting, it's not doing really well. It's doing the opposite. So generally speaking, just as kind of like a general rule, I would not do that. Now, in some cases, like we've kind of seen recently, some of these stocks that reverse split are part of another theme or have some other catalyst going on, like they've regained NASDAQ compliance. And because we're traders and we're trying to recognize patterns, we've noticed that a number of these companies end up trading better or more easier to trade after the reverse split. And in some cases, we'll see that after the stock reverses, it actually trades up a little bit. Now, I don't really have any rhyme or reason. Well, if a stock is in this business, or if it does this, or if it trades like this, then you should buy it ahead of the reverse split. It's more of like a feel thing for me. So, for example, one of them that we had recently was IDAI, T-Stamp, which we affectionately call Tramp Stamp here, LOL. That was a stock in the AI space that we knew when the split was going to happen. And it ended up trading up a little bit after the reverse split. There was another one in there too, although I can't place the ticker. VSIG. It was VSIG. That's what it was. It was that junky, really small stock that was like 8 cents or whatever. We actually had a gentleman in the happy hour that was kind of following that for a while. And that too traded up right after the reverse split. Now, these gains were very, very short-lived. And I think in both cases of both of the stocks that I just gave you, the stocks ended up going lower, split adjusted afterwards. So I don't really think that this is a good investment thesis at all. I generally caution people from doing this. If you have an angle that you're going to play, that's your own thing. In both the cases that I just gave you in IDAI and VSIG, we had some larger discussions there. And then I allocated a very, very little amount to trading ahead of the split. But generally speaking, I would stay away from this. The general rule of thumb that I say to everybody, if a company is splitting, they're doing well. If they're reverse splitting, something's wrong. We've obviously figured out a way where we can kind of trade some of these smaller, junkier names and make some money off of them, but that doesn't change the larger picture here. And if you're not active or you're not quick or maybe you don't have a whole lot of money that you feel like you can lose in this, probably not the best strategy here, probably too much risk in this. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that if you think that a company is really going to put in a big move after a split or something like that, you can always kind of wait that out. Sometimes companies will reverse split, they'll shrink the float, and then they'll release a piece of news. The stock will end up going crazy. You don't necessarily have to be positioned ahead of that. If something goes wrong, what's your exit plan? Would be how I answer that. So a decent question here. There's not really like a cut and dry answer. But again, generally speaking, companies that are reverse splitting, not doing all that well. Okay, appreciate the insights. Okay, glad that was helpful for you. Okay, let's see what else. Don't forget to vote in the YouTube poll. Yes, thank you, producer, and thank you for reminding folks. Do not forget to vote in that poll. Tenzin saying, remember HMNY, aka Movie Pass. Tenzin. Yes, I remember that. I of course donated money to that. I tried trading that. Movie Pass sounded like a great idea. That entire thing sounded awesome. And I was like, oh my, that was HMNY. That was Helios and Matheson, I believe was the name of the company. Oh man, The options were crazy. I bought leaps for that when they were real cheap. All that stuff went to zero. Okay. All of that stuff went to zero. I didn't make any money off of that trade. That was an L. Straight up, that was an L. But I do remember that. I will never forget HMNY as a ticker is as long as I live. I will never forget that. That was no good. That was no good. Okay. Progressive G is saying companies can reverse split to reduce outstanding shares, which can bring stability to their stock and reduce the short float. So, and the float in general. So this is true. There's a number of reasons why companies split or reverse split their stock, which is one of the reasons why it's hard to come up with a blanket statement for this, but there's definitely some things that you can look into. One of the other reasons I really wanted to address this question is because one of the things that we've done here as a group recently is we've identified some of these stocks that are going to have a reverse split or like a NASDAQ recompliance, and we've identified that as a catalyst. So I think it's important to kind of carry that through here. But again, a lot of this depends on your trade plan. If you're looking for just like a quick active trade, I can understand why this is something that you're looking for. But this is generally a red flag in terms of a longer term trade or an investment. We're getting a lot of laughters for HMNY. Look, I'm not the only person that got fleeced by that. No, there's no question. There's no question. We must all find our own ways to be charitable. It's okay, Ryan. That's a good way to look at it. That's a glass half full approach, Jay Walker, and I will take that all of the time. Okay. Let's take a look at some stocks. What time is it? 8:36. We got a little time here. I mean, I can go to the movers. There's a lot of movers on no news. Was there any other bigger companies you wanted to take a look at? I guess, it's always a good idea to take a look at MicroStrategy. I see, the MSTZ there being mentioned. One of the inverse ETFs there. So let's take a look. Yeah, MSTZ, the inverse ETF. Let's take a look at MicroStrategy. Bitcoin here, looking across. Bitcoin did trade above 100,000 on the futures over the weekend. It's backed off those highs here this morning. I've got the futures ticker 99,995. Let's take a look at what the spot price is here. Got another chart for that. Here's your spot price, 99.2. So it looks like we're just shy of 1,000, of 100,000 here on Bitcoin. I would expect that to get tested here today. I wouldn't be shocked if we traded above and below and kind of back and forth around that level. Sure, I could totally see that. Here's one of the things that I'm looking for. I'm looking to see if this head and shoulders ends up materializing. Do we trade up into this shoulder area and then move back down? Do we actually invalidate this pattern by trading up higher? I don't know the answer, but this is one of the things that I'm looking at here in Bitcoin. So we are higher here today. It looks like we're trying to go higher. We'll see if that sparks any of the Bitcoin plays. Now, as far as Bitcoin goes, let's also talk about MicroStrategy. I know this is one of the favorites to trade for Bitcoin here. Does look like so far we have defended 300. We actually talked a little bit about this last week about MicroStrategy diverging from the Bitcoin price. And so now part of me wonders, are we going to play any catch up on that? Sure, we diverged when it was trading down, but do we play any catch up now that MicroStrategy seems to have held 300? We're also above the 50-day moving average. So we did close above that last week on Friday. Today, with a little bit of a gap higher here, 351, that 50-day moving average at 339.34. And then also remember, we have this area in here, 361 to 376. That represented a previous support area. It will be interesting to see if that represents a resistance area on the way back up. Of course, 383.40 also one of those levels to keep an eye on. So MicroStrategy here seems to be moving with Bitcoin here this morning. We'll see if this can maybe kind of accelerate after diverging from Bitcoin last week. Natural gas here, by the way, I brought this up earlier on one of my other screens here. Natural gas, the actual commodity itself here, the futures at the highs, trying to scream higher here on the back of that weather news that we told you about earlier. Okay. You guys gave me tickers. Ask and you shall receive. Keep smiling is saying, can we do Uber? Tell me you joined a little bit late without saying I joined a little bit late. We actually already covered Uber here really quickly, just to kind of reiterate. They announced earlier this morning at 7:10 that Uber Technologies enters an accelerated share repurchase agreement to repurchase 1.5 billion of shares of common stock. You can see that this really kind of moved us off 60. We're moving up towards that 50-day moving average. That's absolutely one of the levels that I'd want to keep an eye on and see if we close above. The other thing that I mentioned earlier when we talked about this is this might be a really good name to observe and see if there's any type of unusual option activity. Both Uber and Lyft respond really well to that type of activity when we've seen it before. I would imagine that it would be no different now. Okay. But there you go. All right, let's take a look at some of the other charts here. T-Kids wants to take a look at CRM, Salesforce. Yeah, you know what? Let's absolutely do that. Not one that we took a look at. Oh, no problem. Keep smiling. You don't have to be sorry about that. I like to make jokes. I like to make jokes. Keeps things rolling and keeps the levity a little bit higher here. No need to apologize. As far as CRM goes here, this is another one of those tech stocks has been a really, really good performer, especially recently. Let's see, how did it do in 2024? Pretty awesome. Looks like this was what? Wednesday. This was about 250. Finished about 330 here, maybe even a little bit more than that. Yeah, about 340 finished the year at. So pretty good year for Salesforce, especially given the big drop that we had. When it had one of its problems here. But nonetheless, we've actually found ourselves moving off the recent highs and back down to the 50 here. So this is actually at a pretty interesting spot. This was a former consolidation area when we took the next leg higher. So back here in the beginning of November, when we took this leg higher, when we consolidated, we actually ended up gapping higher. Well, we filled that gap. We've fallen back into the consolidation area, but we're being supported by that 50-day moving average. I have that at 330.81 here. Current price of CRM 332.90. So I definitely, as far as a trade goes, I'd be monitoring this 50-day moving average. If you have a long-term trade on here, more things are going to come into play. Your entry price, your time horizon, your risk tolerance, the whole 9 yards. But if you're looking for a short-term trade here, I could absolutely see why. This is a fairly decent support level. We've really kind of backed off some of those recent highs. The RSI has really kind of come in from overbought territory. And right now it's actually sitting at about 45. So if we do make a bounce from here, plenty of room for this to move. We have another good target above at 344.43. That corresponds to the 20-day moving average. That might be a really good starting off point for a potential trade here. Just to kind of give you an idea, let's take a look and see what the options look like here. The January contract only has 11 days in it. So if you thought that this move was going to happen quickly, I could see using that contract. There's a lot of open interest in that contract, but again, you have to be exactly correct if you're going to get that done in 11 days. The February contract, the February monthly contract, plenty of volume in there. That 350 doesn't actually look terrible. I could totally see this really kind of hitting 350 if it did trade back up, a little bit of a resistance area up there. So maybe we'll watch that today. We'll watch the February 350 call in CRM. That might be active here if people are looking for a bounce trade off this 50. Interesting spot, though, that the stock finds itself at. Let me know. So T-Kids, let me know, is this one that you traded a lot? Have you traded this before? Do you have any targets on this? I'd be curious to know what you think about this. I would say as long as this holds the 50 here, you have a pretty decent opportunity for a long side move on CRM. If it breaks this, though, let's talk about that real quickly. I think if it breaks this, I think you're definitely going to find a test of support at 320. But my gosh, if you break that 320 support, 300 really seems to be the next spot. This seems pretty airy in here in terms of support. Okay, so there you go. I have the 400 call for February 2021, and I'm down 50%. So I don't want to say that that's complete. It would have to make a substantial move to get to 400. I would just say, what was your initial plan in case the trade doesn't go your way when you first placed this? I'd be hesitant to add to the same strike that you're in, given how much time that we have. But we'll see if things change here. But anyway, I appreciate you bringing this one up. We'll take a look here at CRM. It does look like it's looking for a bounce at the moment. It does look like it's looking for a bounce in the moment. Tenzin here says buy in the money calls. Buy in the money calls. Most out of the money calls don't pan out. Indeed. In fact, I believe it's something like 80% of option contracts expire worthless or something crazy like that. I totally understand what you're saying here. If you buy out of the money calls, there's a chance that even if the stock gets there, if it gets there too late, your premium by then has evaporated. That's kind of what we were seeing in McDonald's, right? McDonald's just really got hit. The premium evaporated. And when McDonald's started back up, it wasn't enough, frankly, to erase the down move there and to erase that premium evaporation. So I think now you're kind of getting close. I would agree with Envious here. I would say that one of the options you have is to roll it. If you still believe in that, you might be able to roll out further and give yourself some more time on that. But nonetheless, an interesting spot here for CRM. It really does need to hold this 50. I also saw Keep Smiling is mentioning Chewy. That wasn't on my list here of stuff to cover, but we might as well because this is a stock that we talk about all of the time. This is a company that I absolutely love, and we did have some fresh news here today. Chewy shares are trading higher after Mizuho upgraded the stock from neutral to outperform and raised its price target from 24 to 42. So, wow. First of all, this is significant. This actually is an upgrade, right? This isn't just a price target move. This is an actual upgrade of the recommendation it had on it, in addition to a substantial price target move, almost a double from where we're at here. Looking at this Chewy chart, finally, this chart is starting to look good. We really put in this bottom here at 15. We had a huge news catalyst in the middle of the summer that really kind of changed how this stock traded. Went through a little bit of volatility here, but now it does seem to be resolving higher. We're gapping up here. We're up 5% here in the pre-market. I will say this. I wouldn't chase this upgrade here today. We've seen Chewy put in its fair share of days where it really kind of trades down. But man, oh man, if you get that could be pretty good. Look at the series of look at the series of higher lows that we're making on this daily chart. This chart, at least on the daily formation, clearly shows to me a change in trend here, right? This stock has really been moving down. We did bottom. Now we're moving up off that bottom. So I would say if you're looking for Chewy, for a longer term play here, wait for this to come into one of its support areas, one of its moving averages, and go from there. Okay. All right, folks. It's time for 13. Let me go ahead and bring him on. 13. Happy Monday, boss. How was your weekend?
Can you hear me first of all?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
My weekend was a little busy. Had to get ready for the cold weather that we're having right now. I'm sure you heard about the Arctic blast that a lot of states are getting. We got hammered with that. Yesterday it was 76 degrees. This morning I woke up to a brisk 28. So pretty quick temperature change there, but
nice 50-degree swing overnight.
Yeah,
NBD.
Just in a matter of 12 hours or less. So basically, I had to get prepared for that. Not a big deal. I'm ready to go. I saw you were talking about Chewy. I wanted to give one comment about that since we were. This is something we had talked about in happy hour. Remember when we had RH's earnings?
Mm-hmm.
And that gave us an indication that some wealthier people were spending more.
Yep. We talked about maybe they'd spend it on their pets. Yep.
Chewy and Woof are on our radar for that reason. So I think there may be some more room to go with Chewy and even Woof.
Okay. Really good stuff there. I actually hadn't even mentioned that, but you're absolutely right. Okay. 13. Let's go ahead and cover some of the movers. We're going to start here with Fubo because it looks like we have some news that is just out. Fubo's spiking here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this and break this down. We actually got a PR here 3 minutes ago. Look, chat, we were out here trying to get the show done. You folks are watching the news wire for us. That's what makes this chat so awesome here. Fubo and Disney's Hulu plus live TV virtual MVPD business to combine. So Fubo and Disney Hulu business to combine. Disney owns 70% of Fubo already. Fubo up 120% on this PR here.
They will own 70% of Fubo.
They will own, excuse me.
Yeah,
Disney to own, excuse me. Thank you.
No problem. Disney's slightly up on that.
Okay, well, Fubo, I think, is the trade here. Pointing it out correctly here. Fubo, easy trade of the day with that news. Bingo. If you're trading pre-market and you're trading news drops here, this one just an absolute vertical rocket on Fubo. Here's your, looks like I got my charts all messed up there. Let me get the Fubo chart back in here. Here we go. Here is your Fubo chart. We are just absolutely ripping. Looks like 350. 350 was that high here on Fubo. So pretty good volume. This is a stock that we've traded all of the time. This is not one that's kind of new to us. Huge float here, 325 million. What was the short interest? Because I remember this. Yeah, okay, this stock, significant short interest here. I wouldn't necessarily call it super high, but significant. 12.16% of the float shorted. 3 days to cover. So a little bit lower on that days to cover. 13, what do you make of this here? You think we got a nut? I know the stock's up 140% right now, but do you think we have another trade set up here on Fubo? What do you make of all this?
Well, my first thought would be, what are the terms of this this merger? Because that'll give us at least an indication, or it'll tell us outright where this price and Fubo could end up going. So I haven't read any of that, so I don't know where this goes, but I think the clue is going to be in there. So depending on what that information reveals, that they'll tell us how high this goes. Just looking at technicals, if we want to just go off that, because I don't know, maybe that's not going to be as reliable as going off the fundamentals today. But I'd have to do. We would have to look into it some more, as I pointed out. So let's take a look at fundamentals. So 350 was the pre-market high. Looks like it's going to take that out pretty soon as well. If we go to a daily chart, it seems as though we are trying. Was this the 200 that we're trying to get above here? Looks like we have gotten above the 200, well above it actually, all the way up there. So this is going to be about where the top was from December and August of last year. So if as far as a technical high goes, maybe 380, 385 could be the resistance in the short term. But
I would just say 4 at this point. It's going to have so much mo. You're right. You're right on the spot. I'm looking at the exact same spot you are on the chart. But at this point, I'd be like, yeah, I just think 4 could definitely test that here. A couple of really good things to note here, real quick on Fubo. Fubo PR. So I had mentioned that this news was fairly fresh here. If we take a look at the news feed, you can actually see what was going on here. Fubo PR dropped. Actually, it wasn't even the PR. It was the news dropped at 7:18 on Benzinga Pro. Okay, so right in here, we actually had a news report that we had got from Bloomberg here that this was moving. That was 7:18. The PR came at 8:45. So PR came an hour and a half later. This is you're right, Wiss. You're absolutely right. There was news on this early, and if you took advantage of that news, oh my God, here's that initial pop in here.
It just
really huge. Say again.
It just got some more news. There's another headline that just came across.
Fubo settles litigation with Disney, ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers Discovery. Receives $220 million payment. Disney commits $145 million term loan for 2026, $130 million termination fee to be paid if the transaction does not close.
That's the kind of information we wanted to read into, because that's telling us where, what Fubo is going to get if this falls through for whatever reason. But $130 million, how much money do they even have on the balance sheet? So it's about their entire cash position. So that's nothing to balk at. But like I said, I think you'd have to look into what the terms are, so we can get an idea of where this ends up going. And I'm not fast enough to do that.
Yeah, well, real quickly here. First of all, your 385 spot that you gave, I'm watching this live. There's definitely size here at that 385 spot. It's trading almost right up to it here in the pre-market. So I actually just took it out.
Yep.
So that 385 spot, Eaton next spot here, 390. That has a fraction of the size. Okay. So this is significant news. I agree. Biggabees, Wiss, Tenzin, all of you. This is significant news. The stock is reacting positively to it. Looks like it's going straight to 4 here. We'll probably have some trades on our hands with this one. Huge move going on here. Stock's up 170% right now.
Yeah, so just jumping on here now and seeing this go down. This is not something I jump into right away.
Yeah,
wait for the pullbacks.
Absolutely.
We'll look at other opportunities after the bell opens, but this thing is just on a tear.
Absolutely. Okay, let's keep running through some of the movers here. Next is going to be first one on the list. I guess the next one in our rundown here is going to be ticker RHE. This is Regional Health Props. Sunlink Health Systems and Regional Health Prop shares are trading higher after announcing Regional will merge with the company in a $10 million preferred stock deal. Okay, so this is a merger and acquisition. News headline here. It doesn't look like we have news that this is going to be a buyout at a specific price. Looks like an all stock deal. And as a result, stock is actually trading around here. Stock's currently up 218%. Looks like we had a pretty decent range for trading here, 4 to 630 in the pre-market. We'll see if that tightens up here. I didn't actually go through this PR. Did really quickly want to mention this. We'll see if we do have more trading opportunities here today. 13, what do you think on RHE? Was this one that you covered?
Well, so to be honest, because I had a slow morning, I did not get to covering anything, so we'll do it live. But right now with RHE, this looks like it's got a pretty decent bull pennant going on. Trying to recapture the VWAP. Already had a few attempts this morning, haven't been able to hold above it. But once we do get above that, that's going to be, I think that'll be an indication that this is going to go higher. We have a pre-market high of 670. Seems like there's some short interest as well. I'm sorry, that must have been a misprint. Nope. Okay, so we don't have short interest. I thought it was over 12. It's actually less than 1. As far as financials go, seems like they don't have a whole lot of cash on the balance sheet. They do lose less than $1 million a quarter. They do have some revenue, but not yet profit positive. I don't know that they're going to need to raise cash or not. It seems like they may, based on their position and how much money they burn. But as far as the technicals go, I would just watch for the recapture of VWAP. And have that take us back over 670 once we get to that volume. It might happen soon. It might not happen until after the bell, but it looks like it's setting up to do that now. You can even draw a trend line to see where that trend is to break. So from 670, drawing it through the highs, that's almost about where my VWAP is.
Yeah, real good. Yeah, real good there with the trend. Okay, one more thing to keep in mind here. Just kind of looking at this, SSY is going to be the ticker of the other company here. That is going to be Sunlink Health Systems. Now, SSY, this is $1.13. This stock's up 21 cents. This was a penny stock that is now in dollar territory here. I wonder if we have balance sheet. This has a little bit of cash, $7 million in cash. They burned just about $1 million per quarter, or they did. So the cash position doesn't look great on either of these companies. But okay, these are the two companies involved here, SSY and RHE, on that 10 million preferred stock deal.
Yeah, SSY seems to be the bigger company that's going to be merging with Regional. That's the way the headline reads. It seems to be the way it's moving. What's the market cap on both of these, by the way? Well, Regional is a smaller one.
Yeah, market cap on SSY here, 7.4 million. Or 6.4 million here. Market cap on RHE, 2.9 million. We're talking about some really small companies here. Okay, good stuff there on that one. Fubo, that's next on the list. We already covered that. That one is continuing to move. Next one here is going to be MEGL, Magic Empire GLB Global Limited. We've traded this one before. Yep. I recognize Megal. I can't remember. This was up earlier, like 188%, still about 135%. I saw no news on this earlier. Still don't have anything. No fresh news on this. What do you make of this one, 13?
It seems like a China pump. Financial service provider in Hong Kong. That's that's how it reads. That's probably what it is.
And you know what, 13, this actually, the float here, 9.6 million, this right in our wheelhouse for stocks that we're looking to trade.
Yeah, so like we've seen with some of these other China pumps, these could be absolutely wild. Had a lot of pretty good runners with some of these, last week, past few weeks actually. Just be sure you don't stick these into your long-term account, because you don't want to hold any stuff like this. Getting above the 200 SMA was a pretty big step, because we're well above that now. First time we're above the 500 as well. So let's see. As far as levels go, if this thing runs to 160, it could encounter some pretty stiff resistance. That might be the first area of resistance to watch for. But if it does manage to chew through that, it might not get going until maybe after $3. It just seems like between 160 and 3, there's a lot of consolidation that it has to deal with. Sorry about that.
All good. Oh, we'll see if we can get back up there. I think 180 and then obviously 190 going to be your high spot there. MEGL. No news on this one. We'll see if we get rolling here. Good breakdown though. Next one is another one that we should be familiar with here. This is SciSpark SPRC. I know we've talked and traded this one a lot. This thing runs on PRs all the time, always ends up coming back in. It seems this was a penny stock that is just now broken above dollar territory. SciSpark and Clearmind Medicine shares are trading higher after announcing the publication of a European patent application for binge behavior. So I actually didn't dive into this at all, the PR here, but it also looks like CMND is trading along with this. That stock's up 9%, just shy of 9%, whereas SciSpark up almost 100% here.
Seems like when we traded this, the last time was back in November of last year. No, I'm sorry, of 2023. That seems to be when we traded this last.
Publication of European binge behavior. Okay, so they're talking about what psychedelic combination treatment can do for binge behavior, which includes alcohol consumption, eating, tobacco consumption, shopping, and sexual conduct. So look, I mean, I'm I guess on the surface here, I didn't read through this at all. On the surface here, I am kind of curious to the results of this. This would be a publication to look into. As far as a trade actually goes here, I would not trade or chase SciSpark. I actually think that I might enjoy trading CMND more. We'll see how this shakes out here when the market opens. 13, what do you have on this? Sorry, I'm thinking out loud here.
It's okay. I was just trying to figure out when we last traded this and what it was on, and I think I may have found it. So it was back in November of 2023. This thing was taking off on news that it had some trial results that indicated their company's proprietary SCI 110 provided a safe and effective solution for alleviating agitation in elderly Alzheimer's patients who participated. So it was an Alzheimer's headline that they got.
So they probably have this is probably a pattern for them of rotating headlines to try and drive the stock price higher.
Well, maybe, but what is the patent? Or I'm sorry, the patent. What's the patent over? It's just what's the name of the drug specifically? Is kind of what I'm wondering, or the treatment.
Okay, here we go. Combination therapy of MEAI and I can't even pronounce that. I don't even know if there's a name for this.
Yeah, because I see another headline they had late last year in December about. There is a approval from an Israeli medical cannabis company to conduct its clinical trial for an SCI 210 in children with autism spectrum disorder. They seem to be doing a lot of different things. So I don't necessarily know that an application for a patent is going to be,
so that makes sense on the surface, right? They're trying to probe and see what type of treatment these psychedelic compounds can actually benefit people. And then they're PRing this. But to your point, this is another reason why I don't think chasing this is a good idea at all, because it seems like they're kind of trying to see what sticks, right? We're not really sure how this is gonna pan out long term. I'd be a little bit weary of the pop just because of the size.
Mm-hmm.
just because of the degree at which this moved, but definitely worth watching for a trade here today.
Yeah, that's just kind of what I was getting at is, how
Yeah.
big is this news? I mean, let's see what the other reason why it ran. It ran on Alzheimer's news, and that was a phase 2A.
Yeah.
This is the kind of company you'd have to look and see what they've got going on in the pipeline, and then you can determine when they may have another catalyst that moves the stock. But as far as today goes, seems like maybe about 120 to 155. I think you're probably going to get a good amount of price action. I don't know what's going to happen if we go higher than that, but that would be my my guess as to the price action we get today out of this one. Just because I don't think there's a whole lot of news here. Float is 10, almost 10.5 million. Don't have any read on their income, so they may not have any. Balance sheet doesn't look great. Looks like they're going to have to raise some money. So that might actually be the reason why they have this news out here. They're trying to raise capital. That could be a very good reason. Let's take a look at the calendar for any secondary offerings. Don't see anything that they've got out. So I'd be careful with SPRC. I feel like a raise is coming.
I'm with you on that. I'd be careful about that. We're actually seeing the price action here. We're seeing the volume compress, and at the same time, we're seeing the price come back in, as well as snapping some of those key levels like recent pre-market lows and the VWAP. So sorry, I got something in my eye here. So SPRC, I'm with you on that. We'll see if this pans out, but probably some better options on the board here. Next one here is going to be ARBE, and this is ARB Robotics. Seen a lot of the robotic names move. We've seen Rich Tech Robotics, ticker RR, has moved recently. Looks like that's up another 21% here. Taking a look at Serve a lot recently, another robotics company that's been moving. ARBE got news here today. ARB Robotics shares are trading higher after the company announced its presentation at CES 2025 to highlight radar integrating with NVIDIA Drive AGX in-vehicle computing platform. Okay, 13, this is great that we're coming across this now, because this ties all the way back to one of the initial stories that I talked about at the beginning of the show here today, and that we actually set the stage for last week. So we talked about CES 2025, that going on here this week. Now we're having some of these smaller companies, not just NVIDIA, responding to what's going on at that conference. This is why we want to stay on top of this. So 13 here, this looks good, man. Popping on volume here. We traded above 5. I guess you could say on this 1 minute intraday chart, maybe we're starting to form a head and shoulders here. Whatever. It's a 1 minute intraday pre-market chart. Let's see what happens when the volume actually flows in here. But let's take a quick look around the horn and see what we got. As far as short interest, 1% of the float shorted, pretty negligible there. Insider transactions, nothing recent as far as any of those insider transactions here. And then the share structure here, 59.5 million shares in the float. So a little bit higher. Than what we like, but this is definitely moving around here. 13, what do you make of this one, ARBE?
Well, the float, almost 60 million shares, not really the size that we want to see. Let's look and see what they've done reverse splits. Doesn't seem like they've done any. So, and I don't think they really had to, since it didn't seem like they were in any risk of delisting. As far as financials go, they seem to have some cash on this balance sheet, but it's only going to last them about a quarter and change. So don't know where the extra money is going to come from quite yet. It seems like they may have to raise capital. But the fact that they have a headline here with NVIDIA in it means that this thing could, they could do whatever it wants. Let's take a look at a smaller time frame and get an idea of what we got here. So 530 was the high that we made in the pre-market here. Seems to have a hard time holding above 5. I would think that 5 is going to be the big level to hold over if it does pop back up there. Currently above VWAP, but it's very close to it, so it might end up losing it. MACD is indicating there may be some rollover happening here soon. I'd hold off and wait to see if this can hold VWAP or not. If it starts trading beneath VWAP, then let's wait for it to come back above it. I'd just want to be careful on this one. But the fact they have NVIDIA in the headline is could be a big driver for this morning. Also, we did mention CES, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, and to keep an eye on some other companies that were going to be, presenting there as well. And I think Vuzix was one of them that I mentioned was going to be presenting there, and they're up about 8-9% right now. So don't think they've had their presentation. Not 100% sure if that's already happened, but keep an eye on the smaller companies that are presenting at CES. They should get some movement with their announcements.
Yeah, that's really good stuff there, 13. And that's why I wanted to kind of tie all this together. Now we have Chris in the chat making another quality point here real quick. I want to outline this for you folks. Big B is mentioning Toyota will be speaking at CES today in between Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA. Could be a vehicle story and AI theme here today at CES. Big B's, I think you're onto something here. With ARBE here, this is about integrating with the NVIDIA Drive AGX in-vehicle computing platform. So I think one of the things you're seeing, how are AI applications being adopted to consumer travel here? Everyone knows about autonomous driving, but there might be some other aspects in here that are kind of going on. So we'll see if that represents a theme at CES, and then we'll see if that gives us other trading opportunities, especially in some of these smaller names. You folks mentioned NVIDIA. Before we started talking about the movers, we did actually take a look at NVIDIA earlier here. NVIDIA also responding. This is up almost 3% here in the pre-market. So,
keep an eye on. I mean, I hate having to bring this one up because it's been such a loser of a stock, but BlackBerry is also supposed to be presenting there. When you started mentioning vehicles, I remembered their QNX automotive software that is in millions of vehicles. They had some news out of CES this morning, but I don't think we really got a whole lot of movement yet. So that would be one to keep an eye on. And I think we're probably not going to see this thing move a whole lot because the float is massive.
Yeah.
Almost 600 million shares. Short interest is, it's whatever. But, if we're talking automotive and CES, I think BlackBerry is going to be one to keep an eye on because their software is in a lot of vehicles.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there. Good morning, Jay. It's great to see you here this morning. Jay, this is interesting. We broke Fubo down. Oops. Come on, this is not what I tried to do here. We broke Fubo down earlier, but Jason is saying here, I think 60% plus is a short on Fubo. So Jay, just to be clear here, I think what you're saying is if the stock trades up by 60% or more, it makes for a decent short opportunity. I don't want to misspeak for you. So I think that's what you're saying here. Fubo is definitely going to be one of the top watches here today. I had said I think we would go for 413. We blew through 4. Looks like we actually went and tried to go for 5. A lot of action here. We'll see what happens on Fubo. Okay, really good stuff. Here's another one. Knight Rider coming back. Kit is back here. KITT, Nauticus Robotics. We just talked about some different robotic stocks. We just saw a PR from CES for one of the companies that is at CES. I beg your pardon. We traded this one on Friday. This was a great trade here on Friday. Made a whole bunch of jokes about it as well. We traded higher in the after hours, and then we popped here in the pre-market. Now we've come back in, but we've done a really decent job holding this 550 area. I've got the VWAP at 650. So if we do get a potential trade back to VWAP here, that represents $1. Definitely some money to be made here on that fill back to the VWAP if we get it. We talked about Kit recently. This is not a new issue for us. This is one that we've been taking a look at. Again, just to kind of remind you on some of this stuff. Short percent of float, 7.38%, only 1 day to cover. So there's some, but it's still fairly low. Its actual float just over 6 million. So this also in the butter zone of those lower float stocks that we kind of trade here. Didn't see any new news on Kit 13. What do you think here?
It could be just momentum from last week, or
I think you're probably right.
Relative volume. If we don't have any news, that's what I'm going to be going with. Seems, because on Friday we had a lot of volume, probably the most that we've had in the company's history. Right, that's what I'm getting from this. We also really extended the RSI beyond 85. As of today, it's 86, almost 90. I'm sorry, 87. We're well above the 200 SMA. I have to think that this we have to be careful with this one. It looks like around 750. The last time it was trying to capture that level. It had a hard time getting up and staying above 750. So that would be a target for me if we get up there today. Otherwise, this may come in as soon as the market opens, just because it's so extended. So be careful with this one, folks. If this is something that you're looking to trade, just maybe let it find a base, or get some support somewhere before you jump into this thing and do what you want with it. It's right now it's beneath VWAP, looking like it could go lower, even though the MACD is on the smaller time frames are indicating that might be curling. Just want everybody to be careful with this one. It's already had a couple of good days. Could have another good day, but I don't know how much we're going to get out of it. So 750 would be my near term watch out level.
Okay, and then really quickly here on Fubo, which is now at the top of the movers list, up over 200%, 211% here. Real quick, Jay, sorry about that. No, 67% short interest. I actually totally misread what you said there. That's on me. So appreciate you clearing that up there. I think 60% plus is short. And if we actually take a look at the short interest here on Fubo, I only have 12% of the float shorted. I'm not sure where that you're getting that number, but as far as the recent report, which was effective Christmas Eve, 12, we're actually due another update there on the short interest. But in any case, sorry, I messed that up. And the other thing that you mentioned is VTAC. So VTAK, this is going to be a did I get that right? This is for you low price guys, has some robotic acid catheter precision. That sounds awful. Anyway, penny stock here, Jay mentioning VTAC. Okay. Okay. We talked a little about Fubo. We're caught up here. Big B is mentioning AM. This is interesting. AMD could overtake Intel in the data center, home PC, and consolidate their GPU efforts. Be on watch for AMD at CES today. So there you go. Headlines about that out of CES. We'll see what that does here for AMD.
What if we change that word from overtake to take over?
Then that would mean something entirely different.
I know, that'd be great though.
Okay. FGL was the next one I had on the list here.
Oh, Founder Group. We've traded this one before.
Yeah, we sure have. Did we have any fresh news on this one? Nope, nothing fresh here. Short interest here, 2.35%. Really not a whole lot. Float right in the butter zone of what we're talking about, or of what we're looking to trade here, 4.6. What you got? Any key levels on this one? 13.
I'm just looking at it. This is one that was a different ticker at one point, and then it just recently IPO'd as another company, back in October.
While you give those levels, I'm gonna step away 1 sec. BRB.
Okay. Yeah. So on the 5-minute chart, this one has not been having a great time this morning, getting above VWAP. It seems like we have no maybe a couple closes above VWAP, but haven't lasted very long. Seems like we are still trying to curl back up and attempt to retake VWAP again. But if we do pop over VWAP, we might see another slap down around 235. So I don't know what to make of this one. What's the news here on why this is going? I don't see any news. If this manages to recapture VWAP, it's going to have to hold above it for at least 15 minutes for me before I would be getting any excitement towards trading it. But 307 was the pre-market high. Don't know if we'll get up there. First thing has to happen, get a recapture that VWAP. And then we can have that discussion about 3. You hate, yeah. I know, sorry. It was once RIM, Research in Motion. We used to make phones. Now they just make Internet of Things and interconnected software and automotive software. They've been selling their portfolio.
Which, FGL?
No, BlackBerry.
Oh, BlackBerry. Okay. All right. Thanks for holding the fort down there. Real quick. Next one here is going to be RenB. I do see the market pulling here, so we'll get to that in a sec. I did want to quickly finish off some of these movers here. RenB, this is going to be another one. This trading higher on volume here. I don't think we had any news on this. Let me see. No, excuse me. This one we did. I beg your pardon. Oncology news here. Predictive Oncology to be acquired by Renovaro, which is this company, RENB. for Renovaro preferred stock. Now, this piece of news driving this stock 67% plus here. This is definitely one where we're going to have to read into the PR a little bit.
This is interesting because this is a stock that not even a month ago, like not even a month's time ago, just regained NASDAQ compliance. So it was a NASDAQ compliance play. So that means their float, they should still reverse split, I think. That's a pretty large float.
Predictive Oncology will be merged into Renovaro in exchange for newly created series of preferred stock of Renovaro. The preferred stock will be issued to shareholders of Predictive Oncology in a one-for-one exchange of their existing Predictive Oncology common stock.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we'll see how this one trades. It's already been wild here in the pre-market, right? We had a 213 high as stocks back down at $1.50. It's actually beneath $1.50. It's actually breaking away from the VWAP as well, which I have at $1.60. So Renby, it looks like that was an initial move or that pretty decent pop on that news there. We'll see where this one settles, though. It looks like this is coming back in a little bit.
Yeah, I'd wait for this one too. It doesn't seem like there's any big fundamental news with this one. It's just that it's picking up a company in an all stock deal, and that's about it. The company doesn't have cash on hand really or any income. It loses $44 million. Last quarter it did. I don't know. I think I'd be very careful with this one.
GFAI. This is one from Friday. Look, I think several of you folks were trading this, weren't you? I didn't have this one. I don't think I traded this one. But nonetheless, this actually moved higher the rest of the day and then in the after hours and is now popped again here today, twice on volume, by the way. $3 seems to be one of the upside levels right here. Stock has come back into VWAP. We actually just lost VWAP here, GFAI, but it looks like some pretty nice movement. Yeah, I can't remember who was trading this last week. 1% of the float shorted here. The 11.5 million shares here, and then nothing real fresh, right? We had news back from December 4th. That's the last thing that I have. You have anything on GFAI? Excuse me.
Well, this was one that Benzinga covered exclusively last month, and and also it has AI in the name, so it's got that going for it. The float is 11.5 million shares, so it's much better than some of those other ones we were looking at earlier. Makes it a little bit easier to trade. As far as financials go, don't have any insight on their income statement. They report earnings twice a year. Seems like they have just under 14 million on the balance sheet. Was this the one? Oh, was it Thailand?
GFAI, they have robot exposure, according to Jay Rice. Jay Rice is a winner. Long a lot from the low ones. Let's go, Jay.
Yeah, customers are local commercial banks, chain retailers, coin manufacturing mints, and government authorities. What's the? It seems like they make financial machines like ATMs and things like that. What's the robotic angle here? That's interesting.
Anyway, it sounds like this is already a winner for some folks there.
Okay. So here it is. This was back in August. Benzinga's covered this one quite a bit, actually.
Yep.
They had AI, Guard Force AI deploys advertising robots in New York. So advertising robots.
That sounds awful. Honestly,
short this stuff. Get it out of here. No.
That sounds terrible. Anyway, this also series of higher lows here in the pre-market. This might be an interesting one to trade. Got a couple of them. Got a couple of these on the list here. Beach Trades flagged it a week ago or so. He's part of Story Stocks. Beach Trades is someone I've been following for a long time, Jay. Beach is awesome. Beach has actually appeared on several of our shows here on Benzinga as well. So shout out to Beach Trades out there. Really good stuff here, Jay. Really good stuff. Okay.
So I'm just looking up their robots. They're these like little, moving, these little kiosks that move around.
Okay.
That's what their robots are.
So producer here thinking, can't help it, but thinking about Nightscope here, the little police robots. That is actually up here in the pre-market.
Yeah, and it seems like robots are going to be an emerging theme for 2025. It looks like, and that was kind of the next step for AI. Now that we've got AI, it's hitting the ground running, and data centers are, working on its brain. The next step is to bring AI into the physical world, and how do you do that? Do it with robotics. So that's
Okay.
next.
Cooler, the next one on the list that I want to mention here, then we can go flip over to the main workspace here. Cooler, this has been a huge winner for our group recently. 13 props to you. You've been talking about this one since it was a penny stock here. Looks like we're maybe testing 4 here today. I didn't see any new news on this one. Did I miss it?
Oh, you missed it.
I missed it. Cooler,
Yep.
increasing its Bitcoin holding. All right, 13, you're obviously on top of this. Take it away.
So that's the news. They're buying more Bitcoin. And that's really all it is. So this is kind of a new theme with some of these smaller companies. Just buy Bitcoin. You'll get all the attention you want. It seems like it's been working for all the Bitcoin miners. It's been working for some of these other smaller companies that say that they're going to buy Bitcoin. I think, help me out here. Did T-Stamp say they were going to buy Bitcoin?
That's IDAI, right? Tramp Stamp.
Yeah.
I think they did, right? They talked about adding that to the treasury. Let me do that here for you real quick.
Yeah. So
strategic announcements. Excuse me. 1-for-1 reverse.
Anyway, you're starting to see some of these headlines where companies are picking up Bitcoin, and it's increasing the overall valuation because the value of Bitcoin has been rising. It's approaching 100,000 again. So.
Yeah, and actually, they're actually up on their purchase. So I didn't find it here in T-Stamp quick enough. But
it might have been a different company.
In Cooler here, it actually mentions the price, right? 98,393. So they're up on their purchase here. Actually, it looks like Bitcoin might challenge a 100K again here today. All right, and yes, thank you, producer. The poll is closing soon. Be sure to vote. I want to know what you folks think. How many rate cuts? How many rate cuts are we getting? Right? What was the let me actually log in and vote myself here on that poll. I don't think it's. I'm telling you guys to vote, and then I'm not voting myself. Come on, Ryan. You gotta go in here. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. I am gonna vote for 2, by the way. So it is 1, 2, 3, or 4 plus. I'm gonna vote for 2. Be sure to get in there and get that vote done before the market open. We'll report those results when the market does open. And then, as Chris was saying, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. You folks are really what makes the show go around. 13 and I absolutely love it. And you can support us for free. It's actually really easy to support us. So really good stuff there. Okay, what else do you want to take a look at? Well, we got a couple of minutes here till we open up. What do you want to do before that?
Well, we could take a look at some of the other themes we were looking at and see how they're doing. So that'd be, quantum. That would be some nuclear. That'd be some space. See how they're doing.
I'm going to start with some of the quantum names here. All right. So real quick, IONQ here. This is slightly higher this morning. Now, I'm not terribly surprised, especially given the performance of the NASDAQ. Let's check some of those other names here real quick. QBTS. This is up not even 1%, but green arrows there. D-Wave Quantum, this actually down a little bit, but again, just about 0.5%. QMCO, that's going to be another one of those big quantum names. This a little light here in the pre-market. So it looks like some of these quantum names coming in a little bit. Was there any? Oh, Rigetti. I was like, Ryan, I think you're forgetting like a big one that we talk about all the time. And here it is, Rigetti. This one pulling back almost 3%. This is actually down the most of all those names here. But this had a huge run, so I'm not terribly surprised to see this. Not terribly surprised. Izzy's asking, what trades are you in right now? No new short-term trades yet. Just the same long-term stuff from last week and last month. Nothing. I didn't hold anything, any of those swings or anything over the weekend here. So nothing new. You got anything here on the? Do you want me to go through some of the space stocks? Did you have any thought on the quantum names here?
I was just thinking, let's take a look around and see how they're doing, see if they're providing any trades. And looking at the space stocks, unless other than the ones that we already looked at, like Cooler, seems like they're some of them are up, some of them are just kind of sideways right now. But something to keep an eye on in case that sector starts moving up. Was also trying to look around and see, or look at my notes and see what we have coming up this week. So we do have the final BLS jobs report coming up on January 10th. We have the market close for Jimmy Carter's, memorial. It's going to be the January 9th, right?
Yeah. So So the events here this week: Thursday, the market is closed in observance of President Carter's funeral. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. JOLTS job openings, ISM services PMI. Wednesday, 8:30 initial jobless claims, and then the 2 p.m. FOMC minutes. Then we're closed on Thursday, but on Thursday, 13, we actually have several Fed speakers that day. We have Harker, Barkin, Schmidt, and Bowman, and then we come back Friday for the non-farm payrolls in the morning at 8:30.
Oh, let me also add. After the payrolls, actually later that day, after the market closes, we get another Starship test launch.
Friday, right? Friday night. Awesome.
Friday, I believe it's 5 Eastern is when we get it. When we're open, by the way. So that'd be something to watch for with the space stocks. We are open.
We are open here really quickly. The poll results are in, folks. Really good participation in the poll. Keep it up. How many times do you think the Fed will cut in 2025? 2 is your winner at 47%. 3 is the next highest at 25%. 1 cut at 19%. And 4 plus cuts at 6% there. Okay, we are open. Let's see what's going on. Let's make some money today, folks. How about that?
Fubo down out of the gate. Cooler down out of the gate. RHE, this one's trying to push up to that trend line and try to recapture VWAP. Might be curling. I don't know if it's going to get it here, but it certainly looks like it's trying to. Very spready as well. Meg L down SPRC. That's trying to come up and recapture VWAP and also go above $1. ARBE, this one's pushing up. Let's see if it can get up to over 5. This was the one that was having trouble getting over 5. So let's see if it gets over 5 this time.
And it looks like it took that VWAP out too on ARBE.
Yep. Let's see if it can hold it. FGL, not able to get above VWAP yet. RENB, that sank in the pre-market, and now we're open and it's kind of going sideways. So see if we can recapture there. It looks like Cooler's trying to bounce as well. And here we go with ARBE. That's trying to push up.
I'll tell you what, I'm watching it live here. It's trying to break this 470 spot. Mm-hmm. It's actually printing there too. It's printing plenty. It's not really able to go through it. And as you can see on the chart here, this actually looks pretty good, right? Like we dipped, the buyers stepped in, we went above VWAP here, but now it seems that we're struggling with that 470 area. A little bit of a sell-off here. We'll see if 460 holds it.
Yeah, I think it's trying for 5, and I don't know if it's going to be able to get above 5 or hold above 5, but that is
there goes 470.
Yep, trying to capture 480 now. Don't know about this one. It looks like it's putting in a bit of a bearish formation here. So we'll see if it can.
There goes 480, 490. It looks to be there seems to be size on the ladder here every 10 cents higher. We'll see if this pushes up to 490 here. This is ARBE.
Yeah, I'm just watching to see if it gets rejected at 5. It looks like if it's going to reject anywhere, it might be at 5 even. Maybe slightly beneath that, but 5 looks like a rejection area. Okay. Cooler. It's it lost like 50 cents right out the gate, and it just got all that back, and now it's trying to push higher. Still beneath the pre-market high though.
Okay, here is Cooler. So that looks like on my chart here, looks like a yank beneath VWAP and then an immediate reclaim in the same 1 minute candle.
But look at where it ended up. Right at where the pre-market support was all morning.
Yep, right down here, right at this 350. Yep, no, you're absolutely right on that.
And now it's
absolutely right.
Now it's coming up to 4, where it's trying to take out that huge wall. Don't know if that's going to fall or not, but that's certainly where it's headed.
Okay, and then real quick, just kind of looking around at the rest of the market here. Sure looks like Tesla is ripping out of the gate here, so nice little move up here in Tesla. Jay Harris, I know you're waiting for this. We didn't really do Tesla levels today. I guess we can do that if you want. Let me fix my chart here real quick.
RenB is putting in a little bit of green, but the volume's not great. FGL do nothing.
428 on Tesla
And
definitely seems to be a level it needs to go. Sorry, get in there.
ARBE absolutely did the bearish formation. That is the head and shoulders. It's probably coming down to about 370. That's where I would imagine my the support.
You know what? I'm going to give you. My
Hey.
yeah, no, sorry, that's been happening recently. My computer like freezes up for a sec and then it kills the share for Pro, but it's easy to get back here. Now, the one thing I wanted to say before that happened here, 13, I'm going to give you the first one up of the day because you were flagging that right ahead of that happening. You were saying, be careful here, watch out here, be careful on this one. And sure enough, we ended up getting the pull.
Couldn't even get to 5. It only got to 490 before it pulled.
And it does look like it's trying to hold here. So maybe it's not done yet, but that was a really good call on that pullback.
So looking around here,
by the way, just really quickly, I did want to mention, we were just talking about Tesla here running up out of the gate. That is turned around and it's at VWAP, but I am seeing some Tesla calls here, 420 and 425 on the wire. Sorry, 13.
No worries. I was just looking at RE and B, seeing if that's going to, be able to move back up. It actually ended up going lower. So this is almost back to start. Start ends at $1. Also looking at, I just saw somebody mention that the stock I wanted to take a look at. Let me see if I can see it.
RHE, was that it?
No, Vuzix. I want to say, they mentioned there was a pop. Oh yeah, look at that. Vuzix looking pretty good.
Wait, sorry, MEGL. This is halted to the downside. Okay, sorry about that. VUZI, right? Vuzi.
Yep. Yeah, this one popped over 5 briefly. It's trying to get back above it again. It's a nice impulsive move. I don't see any news out of CES yet, but they are going to be presenting, so that's something to watch for. Maybe we, it comes back in a little bit, gets support from BWEP, and then it can go higher.
Terra Wolf here, by the way, the $7 call being bought into this down move here, 1,800 contracts there. Really quickly, a question that I want to address here, just because we've been talking about it a lot. Amanda, good morning. Happy Monday. What do you guys do when you have a stock that's a long-term hold, but also worth day trading like RCAT or ONDS? Do you do it in different accounts? So this is a really great trade, or a really great question here. I'm going to start with the ONDS example that you referenced in your exact question. I don't trade around that. Or at least I'm not right now. If I were, a lot of the times what I like to do is I like to use options to trade around core positions. If I'm holding a position for the long term, that is going to be a stock position. So if I want to trade around that, a lot of the times I'll use options in order to capture that, as well as define my risk ahead of the trade there, so that it doesn't kind of cut into a winning investment that I have. I have like my own personal issue. I don't like screwing up my average price by trading shares in the same account, in the same position as a longer term position. I like to separate that as much as I can. So good question here. I know that there are some other folks that keep multiple accounts, like a swing account. Like, so another thing, like I've got my prop account, I've got my regular account. I'll trade those a little bit differently. I'll trade ONDS in the prop account where I don't have a long-term position. But I generally try to separate it by the vehicle or by the account, like you had mentioned.
Before I give my answer, RHE broke that trend. It's going higher. I do. Options are a great way to do it. I don't do that specifically, but I have, traded things that are more short-term in my, trading account versus my long-term investing account or retirement account. So you can do it in different accounts, or like Ryan said, also you can trade around a core position. I did that with Archer. Just kind of have the position that you want, that you have an intention to sell at a specific price, and if you want to try to make more money and maybe even reduce your cost basis in the interim, you can pick some up when it goes beneath your cost and sell it when it goes above. But always have that core position that you're holding on to for the long term, so that you can do that as well. Have done that, have used different accounts. Options is a great way. I don't specifically do that, but it's another great way to do it. And look at RHE go now.
This is continuing to rip here as you were saying that.
Great.
One
Great
more
break.
thing here. Scapegoat saying, just a reminder that trading in different accounts doesn't change your cost
No, it
basis
doesn't.
for taxes. So that's an important point here. The taxes, I try not to think about that because it makes my brain hurt. I actually give that to somebody else and they handle all of it for me. What I'm talking about right here is like my own day-to-day. Like, what do I see about a position that I believe in, the actual average cost, all of that. I just generally like to keep some of that stuff separate, but a good point here from Scapegoat.
RHE, this coming up to the pre-market high of 670, not too far away now. We could see this one really take off. Vuzix also running as well. So, man, already got some pretty good moves out of some of these CES names.
Okay, RHE popping here. That was a good call. Tuna, were you on that? GFAI, Tuna was mentioning as well. How did that end up doing here? GFAI popping as well. Jay Harris, I'm sorry, we cannot tell you what to do with your position, my man. I'm sorry that you're down here today. I cannot tell you to buy or sell. You're going to have to figure that one out yourself.
I can look at Tesla and, tell you what levels I think we're hitting. But it's not going to be trading advice. It's just, oops, I don't want to do that. All right.
I'm with you, Amanda. I don't like to screw up my cost basis and my P&L numbers either. It's just, and that's just like my own personal thing. By the way, Tesla here bouncing pretty good off 418. 2-point bounce here already in Tesla. Let me know what levels that you have there.
Well, so far, Tesla is trying to recapture the 20-day SMA. If it can't do that, then I think we go lower. Still see support at about 415. So I still think that that's in play. But if we can't get above and hold the 20-day SMA today, then I think we lose 415 this week.
Okay, so 425.50 seems to be the upside key level there. We actually talked a little bit about that level earlier, if I'm not mistaken. We took a look at that from a different chart here. And actually, it looks like that's Tesla volatile here right now. It is still bouncing, though. Still bouncing. This actually, I mean, let's see. It's right here at the VWAP. I guess if this can move above the VWAP, maybe this can build and go. How's Fubo doing? Look at this. Fubo has come in. This actually lost the VWAP and looks like it's going lower here on Fubo. Big shout out to our group here saying, hey, we should not be chasing this move. I know this news is good, but we should not be chasing this move. That's why, folks.
Yeah. Your 1 minute chart also has a really telling pattern right there. It looks pretty head and shoulders to me. It seems like it's almost resolved. Like, what's that? That 275? Is that your VWAP or is that an EMA?
This is an EMA. It's the 200 EMA, but I'm on the 1 minute time frame.
What is? I'll look on the 5 minute, but that
Here, I'll do it. I can just flip to the 5 minute. Here you go.
That 275 might be a pretty important level there.
241 is your 65 EMA on the 5, by the way.
Yep. Seeing that. So let's see. So it was two what and 241. 241 was the 65 EMA. What was the other one on the 1 minute? 275.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know about 275. That's right in the middle of one of these impulse candles, but not too far beneath it. 250. That seems like a pretty good spot. If we don't get support here, like it's trying to reverse right now and recapture VWAP, if this heads lower, 250 might be a better spot.
250 was a pre-market breakout spot, so I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we have here? Kit, Knight Rider. Looks like that's trying to go lower here, holding on to this 550 area so far.
Wow. Thanks for reminding me, Jonathan Cooper. But yeah, BlackBerry, nothing but green candles so far with this massive float that it has.
SGMT, didn't we talk about this one recently? SGMT.
Yeah.
Sagamet Biosciences announces an oral presentation at the 9th annual MASH-TAG 2025 conference. That's going to be Friday, January 10th in Park City, Utah.
I don't know when we traded this one. Maybe it was very beginning of the year because there was a huge spike up to 2071. So could have been that. Otherwise, I don't know.
This thing, pretty good here. This is up 22.5%. This popping and moving here. Let's go back to RHE. RHE now bull flagging higher here, right around $6.
Sorry, I'm just doing some other stuff real quick here.
You're good, man. You're totally good. Fubo back to the VWAP here at 342. Smoke Tuna is just out here giving you guys calls this morning, helping you all make money. Love it, Smoke Tuna. Bonjour, by the way. SciSpark SPRC beneath the VWAP. That VWAP consolidating right here at about $1. Let's see if this can break and move higher.
Wow. Vuzix on December 27th hit a high of 549. We're not too far away from there. And if we break that, this could have more legs. This could even go over 6.
You know what, 13, now that I'm looking at this, especially looking at the volume here and how you set this up when we were talking about some of the other news, this was a better call than I gave you credit for when you first talked about it. This thing is ripping out of the gate here. You had all the time in the world in the pre-market here.
All the time. You had last week.
Yep. And this thing is just absolutely ripping on volume here. Really good stuff. 13, you're going to get a 1-up here today as well.
All right. Congrats to anybody that jumped into Vuzix on the CES 2025 theme that we were talking about last week. Hopefully.
So this is an interesting question here. Chris, first of all, happy Monday. Chris asking about ticker BUD. So here, let me go to a daily chart here. Chris, let me set this up here real quick and then I'll go back to you 13. Chris saying, "Bud, it's on my long list. It's been dropping for a few weeks. Has anyone been able to figure out why?" So one of the things that we've been discussing recently is how some of these alcohol stocks are likely going to trade given the proliferation of these GLP-1s. And so I've got to think that some of this down move is going to kind of be tied to that. GLP-1s just generally don't make you want to drink or eat. Now this thing has really been dropping since October? Didn't we have earnings in October?
Yes, October 31st.
Yeah, we sure did. So it looks like they had earnings that weren't great, or the market didn't think they were great. Looks like a beat on the EPS, miss on revenue. This thing gapped down, lost the 500-day, death cross shortly after. You have a number of stuff here on the chart that was just no good for Bud in a row. I think at this point now, the next thing to kind of look for is going to be, does this actually firm up at all?
That seems to that earnings that they had in October, that seems to have been their worst earnings since 2019 for that quarter.
There you go.
So that might be one of the reasons it's coming down. Maybe it's worth it if you're interested in trying to trade Bud to look into their earnings transcript, see what was said, or their earnings report, see if they anticipate slower sales, or if there's other headwinds coming. They should have guided there, and they'll give you an idea of what to expect and coming up. So definitely going to be some clues. Taking a look at that, looking at their chart though, yeah, it has really come down since that earnings.
Yeah, it looks to kind of be in a downtrend. Really, since 2016, there was obviously a go woke, go broke thing that affected this. There is the GLP-1 angle. But yeah, I would say at this point now, you want to see, do we hold one of these levels? Do we even make a higher low? Like, do we hold right here, which would technically be a higher low than this 44.5?
I'm looking at the daily chart and I see that 45 is a pretty interesting support level back from 22. And being that we're at a very low RSI, like 21 RSI on the daily, if we somehow get this really fast drop down to around 45, that might be a a drop worth buying for the short term.
Okay.
I just saying that because it seems like that would be a very extended low RSI play. Short-term bounce could come off of that. Maybe you get $5 per share off that trade, maybe $3, but that would be how I would see Bud playing out in the short term. It seems like some support has to come soon. The RSI is extremely low. 45 looks to be a pretty decent support level. So if this drops below 45 briefly, I think that might be a good short-term trade.
Okay, good stuff there. Good question. We don't often look at Bud either, so I love it when we take a look at that. Bitcoin through 100K. Bitcoin futures here ramping. Bitcoin spot price through 100K. Also, watched Bitcoin plays on that news. That's good stuff there, Cyril.
If they had just brought back the frogs, Bud would be doing so much better.
Yeah. With Pepe? Is that what this? Oh no, you're talking about
the Budweiser frogs.
No, you're talking about. Yeah, okay, that's from my childhood. Oh man, the nostalgic vibes flowing there. I'm actually disappointed. I butchered that 13. Real quickly here, Vuzi. I'm gonna highlight this. Tom, I love this. I jumped in Vuzi $4. Coles. Wait, I jumped in Vuzi $4. Coles for January. Calls is what he meant. It's just auto-corrected, LOL. And they're printing away. And I actually found out about this company through the Benzinga All Access. Another shout out there to the Benzinga All Access content that we do, trying to uncover some of these gem companies early on, early on. Really good stuff there, Tom. Love to hear that.
Yeah, I'm seeing that and I'm seeing the movement from Bitcoin right now. I guess we just went over 100K. Wondering why Cooler is not going a little bit higher, but that's okay. It can do whatever it wants.
Well, I'm thinking that maybe it kind of already traded up, right? Like it already traded up on some of that news. We had a nice pre-market here. This might just be some kind of price discovery here. X, by the way, U.S. Steel. This is up here today, this morning. Fubo, looks like Fubo could not hold above the VWAP, lost that, traded right back down and held 3, but couldn't hold the VWAP. Smoke Tuna, sorry, you guys already have the Smoke Tuna alert surface open here today. It's printing. Smoke Tuna making all of those calls here. Absolutely love it. GFAI getting mentioned. Don't have it on the scanner. This did trade back up. Looks like that 350 area still gave it some resistance. Indeed.
Carmen, what luxury glasses company would you think? I mean, like Coach or DB. I mean, you tell me what company, like what luxury glasses company would you be keeping an eye on? For these glasses, to do some business with Vuzi. I'm just curious.
LVMH, maybe? Do they do glasses? They must.
They probably license some other company to put their logo on it.
GFAI or maybe, I was just going to say, maybe we're flagging up here. This might be coming back into the VWAP. Watch that $3.03 level for a potential hold there. I'm seeing a lot of NVIDIA calls come across the tape here. Remember, NVIDIA traded up. Looks like it stopped at that 150. I wouldn't be shocked if you're waiting for traders to watch for a break here on NVIDIA higher. POAI, Predictive Oncology. Looks like this is spiking on volume here. Did we get news on this? Yes, we did. Predictive Oncology announces agreement to be... this is where we talked about this one earlier here. And it looks like this is spiking now, so a little bit of a delayed. This was in conjunction with RENB. That was the other stock. We talked about RENB. Got myself straightened out there. POAI going higher with that. IDAI, T-Stamp. We talked about that one. Looks like this is halted to the upside. So it looks like this sold off, bounced, and halted to the upside. This a recent reverse split, was it not?
I don't know, but remember FGL? We talked about it this morning. This up to its VWAP, trying to get back above it. I need to see, maybe 10 or 15 minutes more of closes above the VWAP, but keep an eye on FGL. This may start to move if it can hold above VWAP.
IDAI did, in fact, do a 1-for-15 reverse split effective today, which is why we're in those float numbers that we had not updated yet. Okay, but that's what's going on with tramp stamp there. LOL. What was which one were you talking about? FGL, right? FGL.
Yes.
Founders Group.
That one can hold above VWAP for another 10 or 15 minutes. This may start to get going here.
Founders Group. Let's see what happens here at the VWAP. This trying.
Carmen, that's funny you mentioned Oakley because they seem to have like the largest surface area for the glass lenses. So that would actually be a pretty massive and maybe even a heavy headset. You know what I'm saying? Getting a mention on Cooler says AI Rod or Al Rod.
Yep. I like calling him AI Rod because AI is a theme. And he's our AI guy. Watt here, by the way, spiking. Looks like it might try and take out $1 there. AI Rod shouting Cooler with multiple exclamation points.
It's sideways.
Yeah, it's just kind of holding in here, AI Rod. It is holding above the VWAP, though. Yeah. And it might be a little bit difficult to see because of some of this price action here, but it is definitely holding above the VWAP. SPRC, this is now resumed at the highs. This took out its pre-market highs, trying to go higher here on SPRC.
I have 155. I think is one of the levels I was talking about here. 150, 155 and SPRC. That would be the 155 level is the 200 EMA on the daily.
Serve, by the way, we talked about some of these robotic stocks moving on some of the news that we've had here today. Serve higher, this plus 23%. Looks like 24 was your resistance area here on Serve. Also want to take a look at ticker RR, Rich Tech Robotics. Wow, strong pre-market here, kind of a disappointment out of the gate. We started talking about Rich Tech Robotics when this stock was a penny stock. Looks like we're about to give up 450 here, or we just did give up 450 here. See, what else do we have that might be a decent mover? RHE, this was a monster call by Tuna earlier. This is now reclaiming VWAP. GFAI, volume starting to come in a little bit here on GFAI, but it's holding above its VWAP. That's encouraging to see. You guys are mentioning MSTR with this Bitcoin move. Not a surprise at all. What a reversal here. MSTR got a 14. Is that right? There's a 20-point reversal off the lows here on MicroStrategy. God, no wonder you folks love trading this so much. Big B's, did you buy this down move in MSTR? Up 28%. Let's go. I'll tell you what a huge reversal here on that Bitcoin reversal. Good stuff. Man, oh man.
Just looking for some things to set up here.
Yeah, I don't have I see a lot of stuff going, but I don't have a great setup on many of these things. STEM, this is ripping here on. Did we have news on STEM this morning? Nope.
RHE might make a move. That has a nice setup. Might be moving now. A little bit of a bull flag after ripping up through the trend line, hitting a high of 680. It's come back in, trying to hold above VWAP. So if it does, this could maybe start to push back up toward that 680 again and go higher. So I need to see a close above VWAP.
Nice job, Big B is buying that MicroStrategy dip there. Are you using calls for that? Really, really good stuff. That is, I'll tell you what, we talked about that, kind of being tough. Those MicroStrategy calls can be pretty spread too. Take a look at some of these here real quick. Yeah, I mean, I guess even the monthlies, that's only spread about $1. Those are expensive calls. That's not a terrible amount. Only spread maybe 70 cents on that weekly contract. They're still expensive. Good stuff trading that. Oh my gosh, it crashed again here. Come on. Let me go ahead and reshare here. Sorry about that.
No worries. Just not really seeing anything. Okay, maybe Vuzi is trying to break over the 540. Couple of attempts already, rejected both times. Maybe next time it is able to push through. And if it does, let's see, where does this go? Maybe 605 could be the next resistance area if it pushes through. That would be what I'd be looking for. 605 next in Zvoozy if we can get through that 550.
And that 520 level, a downside level to keep your eye on as well.
Yep.
BlackBerry, your mention from earlier, 13. This is above 4. It's actually trying to hold 4 here. Nice little move there on BlackBerry.
So, with these names that we've been talking about that are all at CES 2025, I think this is a good, side note to put down on your journals to keep an eye on these events like CES 2000. Whenever they have the next one next year, it'll be in early January, I assume. Keep it. If you keep a journal or you keep notes, maybe just keep a note to yourself to take a look and see who's speaking or who's going to be at the next CES. Because there could be some pretty good moves out of those stocks. SGMT is trying to push to the new intraday highs. At,
SGMT right here on my list.
Oh.
Super says I left Romney on the table. Meant I left money on the table. That makes a lot more sense. But hey, at least you got out of SPRC with some gains there. At least you booked some of those gains.
Yeah, SGMT, new highs. I'm looking at the Budweiser 5-minute chart, and I feel like this thing might end up going lower. Maybe we get down to the pre-market low of 48.26, but I still think this thing could end up at 45.
Here, let me go to your Bud 5-minute chart here real quick. Or 4 points lower, what's what you'd be calling for there. Yeah. NVIDIA, how are we doing on NVIDIA?
Maybe it does rally when he speaks. Maybe it's a sell the news event. I don't know. It seems to be a lot of run up into this.
BRB 13, 1 sec.
No problem. I feel like it's something that we got to be careful for. At least have some stops ready if the market starts selling off when he talks. Because when you run into events like NVIDIA's running into this event, it's just setting up to sell off. So I go into this a little bit carefully, but going over 150, we're right on the doorstep right there. So I'm sure we are. Don't know how high we go over that, but just what I said. Just keep in mind when we run up into events like this, they sometimes can sell the news on those events. Looking around here, looks like we're starting to get some things turning around after selling a little bit. Looks like BlackBerry is coming down to its VWAP before it does something else. ARBE. This one looks like it wants to try and recapture VWAP. Excuse me.
ARBE.
Yeah, this is another one. This is one of those robotics plays.
Yep.
Looking at the 5-minute chart, the MACD indicates that it's starting to curl. Now we haven't recaptured VWAP and we haven't completely had a crossing yet in the MACD. So not sure if we're going to really get a reversal here or not. This is the one that got slammed out of the gate. So we could end up going back up to VWAP and then it reverses and goes lower. That's something that could happen with this. Just be careful with ARBE. We need to see a recapture of VWAP before there's any indication that this might go higher, and haven't got that yet.
Okay. That bounce may be short-lived. Chris mentioning another bounce here on Tesla. This bounce got back to the VWAP 13. To your point about the VWAP here, 5-minute chart really kind of shows it. Tesla bounced back to VWAP, really could not build above, and has now returned to the lows. Actually printed some new lows here, 416 on Tesla on that move down.
Do you have your 20-day SMA on?
Well, I have the EMAs on this chart. I do have a 20-day SMA on a different chart that we can go to. Let me cue Tesla up and we can do all of that. Here you go. This is straight up rejection right at it. When you mentioned this earlier, I flipped over to this chart. So
that's what we need to see here is this recapture of the 20. And like I said, if we can't get that, we're losing, 415. And we're almost there too. So and it's still early in the day, so this price action that I'm talking about is all happening pretty fast, and there's still more day left. So if we end up losing 415, there's a chance we could still recapture it. But Just based on what I'm seeing right now, 20-day SMA rejection leading to a 215 loss. I'm sorry, 415 loss.
Okay. SPRC, we are halted here to the upside 136 on SPRC. Indeed, this is halted. Spark going higher.
Fantastic.
You guys are mentioning the SPX here. SPY, it's trying to get above 590. I got 598.20 right here. They might be running into some resistance there.
ARBE still trying to curl. FGL still getting rejected at VWAP. MEGL, Megal. This one is after selling off out of the open. It may have found a bottom after hitting some of the prices before this big move happened, getting all the way down to 90 cents. If it gets back up over $1, it's going to have some. I think it might have a hard time getting through. What is this? 125 to 140. That might be a bit of a task for this one.
Soundhound, I'm seeing 20 calls trading. Soundhound, another rip here above 22, looking like a 23 test here. SOUN, just crazy move in this one. Wow. SSY, that just disappeared off my, let me go to it anyway. The SSY, this is, what is going on? Oh my gosh, come on. This is Sunlink Health Systems. This is one of that merger with Regional Health Props.
Yep.
It's holding here at $1.10.
Yeah, RHE. This is it's right at that trend line that we broke out of. So now it's back testing this, and it's beneath VWAP. Here it needs to get support at about 475, and it needs to start going back up towards VWAP and recapture. Because if it doesn't, I think we're going to lose this trend line. We're going to come back down and visit some of these pre-market levels where the consolidation was taking place. So it might go down to 4, maybe less, if it doesn't recapture or if it loses the trend line. Fubo curling up, trying to recapture VWAP. There's a trade that interests you with this company. It looks like it's trying to do exactly that right now.
IDAI. Look at this. This is out of that halt. This ripping to the highs on IDAI.
Nice job, Sideshow, with your Fubo trades.
Yeah, that's insane. 9 for 9. I mean, that'll get you a one up any day. Any day. 9 for 9. Fubo. Wow. Chris trying MSTR short from 355. Chris, good luck on your short there. MSTR, this sure looks like this is trying to push higher here. 360, I would say. Going to try and hit.
Yeah, was mentioning SGMT. That is now making a new intraday high, 657. BlackBerry down to VWAP. So if it's going to be more in this, it needs to rebound here.
Wolf, I'm seeing some more calls here. This is WULF. By the way, I saw this earlier, but we were in the middle of something, so we'll review this here real quick. Wolf. So today, I've seen 15 calls that expire in April. Someone swept up 5,000 of those. Then I saw another big thing, the 7 call. Someone bought 1849. That expires January. That expires what? The 17th. So that's the monthly contract. It's definitely call buying here in WULF. Looks like the 6 and 7 calls with this one large call that expires in April. So Wolf, some unusual option activity to the upside here. Wolf plus 3.3% here today.
Keep an eye on RENB. This seems to be trying to base. Also, MACD is indicating that the selling has slowed a little bit. VWAP is at about 130. It needs to get back up and over that if we're going to see anything higher. So that'd be something I'm watching for with RENB. It's very slow moving right now. Volume needs to be a lot better.
All right, folks, it is Monday, and I know it's a little bit past 10, but that's okay. It is time for our special guest. We're going to go ahead and bring on Matt Maley. Good morning, Matt. Happy Monday. Matt, I got to say, it is a pleasure to welcome you back on a Victory Monday. It's been like 2 months since I've been able to say that to you. Matt, Happy New Year. How you doing here today?
Good. I'm sorry I was a little late. I was interviewing for the Patriots head coaching job, so I had to,
No problem.
My years of experience as a Division III player at Colby College a long time ago makes me perfectly qualified to take over the reins. So
I absolutely love that. No problem. I'm being late, Matt. If you need any help filling out your staff, come see me, boss. All right. Happy New Year to you. We're officially off and running. I know we're kind of out of the the holiday weeks here, the truncated trading weeks. I know we still have another truncated week this week with the market being closed here in observance of President Carter's funeral. But given that we're in 2025 here, given we're seeing green arrows pretty much across the board, looks like it was on the back of that Foxconn revenue report here. What do you make of where we're at now, and what are you seeing early in 2025 that's got your interest?
Well, it's, we got to see how well this can hold up. I mean, we saw what happened last week where the market opened higher on Thursday and then rolled back over, but then it opened higher on Friday and kept rallying. Right now, it is holding up quite well, so that's good. It's all going to obviously continue to be dependent on what happens with the tech stocks. Yeah. My biggest concern, of course, is that these earnings are not going to be. I mean, we still. I keep hearing all these people saying we're broadening out of earnings. We're not really seeing any broadening out of earnings. We're just not. I don't know. I mean, we will see the Mag 7's earnings growth come down a little bit, and the others go up. The 493 go up a little bit, but earnings growth has gone down in the last 4 months. The earnings projections for 2025 have gone down. They're only down about 2%, but they've gone down, and the market's trading at 22 times earnings. So at some point before long, I think it's going to be, people are going to wake up to the fact that it's going to be very tough with interest rates remaining high for an extended period of time. It's going to be very difficult for the market to rally a lot more. That said, near term, we'll continue to watch and see how these tech stocks act. If they can hold up, the market will hold up. But given their weighting in the market, it is going to be vitally important that they do well. I know we've talked about this in the past. But we are not going to see rotation out of tech and into other groups. As long as a tech group can keep going up, some people can put money into other sectors. But if it goes down, the indexes will go down because they're highly weighted in the indexes. And if that happens, people will rotate into cash. So I'm very, very worried. I see the market still up very nicely here. I'm thinking, I still think we're going to see a tough point at some point in 2025. I think we're going to see not just a correction, but a deep correction. Yep. But near term, we're going to see what the market gives us. I must admit, I'm a little bit cautious here compared to what most of the euphoria around Wall Street.
Okay, and you know what? That's really great to hear. One of the things that we've been discussing a lot recently is going to be, it sure feels like a correction, maybe a deep correction, like you said, is coming. Just very, very tough to pinpoint exactly when that is going to be. And then obviously today, tech trading up here, booing a lot of these indices here. The other thing that's going on, I know we kind of talking about tech, just kind of looking into this. Are you following anything that's going on at CES? Does this interest you? I know we talked a little bit about interest rates there in tech, but NVIDIA, Jensen is going to be giving the keynote here today at CES. Are you expecting anything out of this? Do you have any trades on for this conference or anything like that?
Well, I mean, there's no question that this conference is definitely this conference is definitely something that they'll continue with some of the hype, and that should get people excited. I mean, we heard about how Microsoft's going to spend a lot of money this year, $80 billion on data centers, et cetera, and so that gets really excited. The problem is that Microsoft's spending, billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they haven't gotten a return on their investment at all yet. Don't get me, they're making money, but it's not in AI yet. I mean, not in any kind of significant way. I mean, there's a reason the stock is expensive. So at some point, people are going to wake up to the fact that they've been waiting for 18 months or more for this thing to broaden out beyond just the chips, beyond just NVIDIA and Taiwan Semiconductor. And we're already seeing that Advanced Micro Devices, which is up today, it's well off its highs. And so, I guess my point is, everything, looks really good as we're beginning the new year. I mean, last week we had a few hiccups. I just think that the situation is just very reminiscent of what we saw in the late 1990s. It's not as extreme as that, so maybe we could get more. The market could go higher, but that's going to depend more on liquidity issues rather than earnings. We have to remember that every single time the stock market, the S&P 500, has gotten above 20 times earnings, it has eventually the PE ratio, we never get the situation where the E plays right? Price always goes down. When it gets above 220, it down below 20, and it doesn't happen because earnings go up and the market goes up. Because the price, the market goes down to resolve that situation. Now, valuations are a lousy timing tool. We've now been at very extended valuations for over 6 months, well over 6 months. So it's now getting long in tooth, and valuations still matter. So at some point, I think in the first quarter, we'll start to see the kind of pullback or kind of correction I've been talking about, or that I am talking about right now. And it may not happen immediately. So I'm not saying people should run in and be buying puts hand over fist, or negative or inverse ETFs hand over fist. But I am saying that I do think they need to be very, very careful about chasing this market in an aggressive manner.
Yeah, I think that's real smart. Definitely want to stay away from chasing. And if you folks feel like you need some help, remember, you can trade right alongside Matt. Got a great service over there on the research side. You can get in contact with me or Rodrigo. We'll make sure we get you set up there. Matt, I know you've been doing an absolute killing trading some of those, I think, SQQQ and QQQ options. Just been doing an unbelievable job over there.
Yeah, I made 600% on one of those trades last week. And so we're, it's working out real well. It's a, we want to take advantage of this volatility, but at the same time, we want to take what the market gives us.
Yeah.
We can't make the market move in a direction. We can't make it go down. I didn't think it will go down. We can't make it go down immediately. So we'll take what the market gives us.
Yeah, be patient there. Take what the market gives you. Love that as a piece of advice. Matt, what I did really quickly want to top off our discussion here on interest rates real quick. We ran a poll leading into the open saying, how many interest rate cuts do you think we're getting this year? Poll ranged from 1 to 4+, and the winner there by a vast margin was 2 cuts. Do you have any thoughts on that? Is that affecting how you're selecting different things to trade at all?
It does have an impact because interest rates are going to stay higher for longer. I mean, the Fed says they're data dependent, but let's face it, they weren't data dependent in September. The data was not weak, not overly weak, and yet they cut by 50 basis points. We can talk about why they did that, but they did. And now they flipped. Now that we're past the election, they flipped back over and told us they're going to have fewer rate cuts. I'd be surprised if we got more. I'd be shocked if we got more than 2. And I think we're more likely only to get 1. And even if we do get the 2, those interest rates are going to stay higher, especially long-term interest rates. And we're up at 4.5. I mean, people are talking about 5, 6, and even 7%. We don't even need to go that high. With interest rates where they are right now, that makes it very, very high to keep these to justify these elevated valuations. And everybody keeps talking about, well, Trump's going to do all these things. He wants to push the market higher. Remember, the first year of presidential cycles tend to be the worst. And he cares more about how the market's looking at the end of his term, not the beginning. And so, and he even came out today talking about this whole thing with tariffs that they're going to pull back. This morning before the opening, came out and said, nope, we're going full throttle. So I don't want to sound overly bearish. I just think people need to be very careful about being too aggressive on the bullish side. The one thing I will say, though, is keep an eye on WTI, West Texas Intermediate Oil. It is lifting right now. It's pumping up against its trend line, going all the way back to the highs from 2022. Now, if that breaks out to the upside after the recent breakout we saw in natural gas, where those energy stocks have a lot of catching up to do. So this is something that I'm looking at very, very closely. I've been bullish on the energy stocks. They've been up and down. They've been down most recently, but they are well below where they should be, given where energy prices are trading right now. And if they do continue to break out to the upside, those energy stocks are going to surprise people and catch a lot of people offside. So keep a close eye on that in the weeks ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a really good piece of advice. We actually talked about energy being the laggard of the sectors last year. Perhaps it'll be in the reverse here this year. 13, you have anything for Matt before we let him go for this week?
Well, I was kind of wondering with the recent news of Biden's action banning offshore oil and gas drilling, how is that going to affect WTI?
Well, I mean, that certainly helps it, and we'll see what happens when President Trump can immediately reverse those.
Might get Congress too.
There's a lot of things going on. We'll go on with that, but my point is that one of the things that people keep talking about is that people think, oh, geez, if we drill, baby, drill, it's going to cause oil prices to fall through the floor. That's not that. I don't think is the case. I mean, the point is, if you believe that President Trump's policies are going to be ones that are bullish for the economy, that tends to be more bullish for crude oil. As you keep saying, that higher oil prices are something that have been weighing on the consumer. But again, I firmly believe that President Trump, who front-end loaded all of his policies in his first term and didn't win re-election, now he's not going to be up for re-election this time, but he wants to go out with a very strong legacy. He's more worried about where energy prices are going to be in the second, third, and fourth year, not the first year. So I think a lot of these policies are going to be back-end loaded, like most presidents do, and therefore we need to be careful about assuming that we're going to drill, baby, drill immediately.
And the other question I have is with regard to, we talked a little bit about rates, and rates we're still kind of uncertain about whether or not we're getting any cuts or maybe raises or whatever the policy is going to be. But it seems like there's a little bit more certainty about what Trump wants to do on the tax side. So should we be focused more on taxes and what he plans to do with that legislation?
Question.
Yeah, I do. But the one thing, though, he does seem to be one to concentrate on the border policy, because it's something he can get very, very quickly. I think the tax policy is going to be bullish for the economy over time, but it's going to take a while for him to pass it. Listening to the weekend or the Sunday morning political talk shows, it looks like it's going to be the summer before he can even get a vote on this. So that means it doesn't happen until next year or late in the year next year. Again, I think that it's something that we should be concentrating on, but right now that's telling us we're not going to have that immediately. Like he got that pushed through very quickly the first time around. I don't think that's going to happen this time. And so therefore I'm a little bit concerned. Again, what we're seeing is, and if we get a deep correction, I think would be very, very healthy. The market's very expensive right now.
Yeah.
Let's see a normal and healthy correction. That would be a little painful and a little scary over the next few months, but it would actually be more bullish over the longer term. And I think that's what President Trump would be focused on.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, that is excellent. And thank you, Matt. All three of us are on the same page there. A deep correction actually sets the market up for a healthier move higher in the long run across the board there. Okay, awesome stuff there. Great question, 13. Matt, thanks again for all of your time here. Happy New Year. Happy 2025 to you and your family. And if you do get that call for the Patriots, we'll bring you back on here for a football spot as well. So good luck with that too. Thanks again for your time,
Sounds
Matt.
great. Looking forward to the Bears and the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Never mind.
You know what? Hey, Matt, you know what? That joke actually really hits because I still have my VHS tape of the 85 Super Bowl Bears, which is the only good Bear stuff I've been. Thank God my dad recorded that on VHS because I don't know what I'd do otherwise. Matt, thanks so much. Have a great rest of 2025. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye, Matt.
Okay.
That is Matt. He is the best. Maybe, are we breaking some news here? Maybe future Patriots head coach on the coaching staff. That would be something else. We're gracious that Matt shares his time with us all the time. Really, really good stuff there from him. And I'll be honest, 13, I love hearing people like him say that they're really kind of waiting for the market to have a deep correction. That's something that we have been talking about for what feels like 6 months now. Let's see if we end up getting that there. Really good stuff across the board.
Yeah, and just because we keep talking about how what we think the market should do doesn't mean that it's going to do it in our
Bingo.
time frame. it's, because we've been calling for this for a while, and it continued to rip higher. Still, finally getting some weakness, but it might go sideways. We just don't know yet.
And by the way, while we were talking to Matt there, Smoked Tuna was just not even taking a break, just out here making money for everybody. Amazing live call there on GFAI from Tuna right in the chat. Really, really good stuff here, group, pretty much across the board. Okay. What else is going on here? I see RHE is at the top of my scanner. Did we finally get it set up here? No, not really. Maybe this is popping off of a support area, but man, oh man, this has kind of been tough.
Yeah, just came down, lost that trend line a little bit. It's back above it for the moment, but needs to get back above 5. Fubo was basing after it had that drop this morning. This one's starting to rise up, so keep an eye on Fubo. Might provide some trades here. MACD is starting to look pretty good. As not getting an indication that it's going to go higher than 484, but it's certainly curling. Vuzix pretty close to the intraday highs. Intraday high is 540. We're at 534. FGL still having a hard time with VWAP. I feel like at some point it's either going to just give up and just absolutely drop down under 2, or we're going to finally get that hold of our VWAP, and it's going to break out and take us into maybe up to 3.
Really quickly here. First of all, I appreciate you covering all that. I was just reminded here by one of my teammates, and I'm going to do a better job at this one. But folks, Fubo, we've been talking about Fubo all morning. Shame on me for this one. For any of you that joined us on Friday, we brought in Mark Petrino for a segment, and we're going to continue to bring him back on a regular basis. I know we kind of talked about him. We kind of talked about some technical analysis lessons, but one of the other things that he mentioned in there was Fubo as a stock pick. And I'll tell you what, just over the weekend, this thing is up, just a massive winner. So new segment starting off with a bang here. Mark's not here with us this morning, but I'm going to go ahead and give him a 1-up and a cash register ring. Look forward to more stock of the day content and lesson learnings from Mark Petrino when he joins us on Friday. Amazing stuff. Do you remember that, Jay Walker? Yeah, he mentioned food. I mean, that is, look, I'm not going to say that all of these trades that we talk about are going to work that quickly, that much, that fast. But man, oh man, when they do, that's nice. Really, really good stuff there.
Bitcoin just continues to rip higher. It's now at 101.5 thousand.
And that should be great for some of the Bitcoin plays. We'll first start here with MicroStrategy. So we talked a little bit about this kind of diverging from Bitcoin. Not anymore. MicroStrategy continuing to trade with Bitcoin here, up just shy or just over 6.5% here. That's just about twice as much as the Bitcoin futures are, but this clearly moving with Bitcoin here. 362 Bigabs. You got to be doing the money dance, dude. You have got to be doing the money dance with the buy and the dip here. What a buy on MicroStrategy from Bigabs earlier here today. Yeah. And man, so I grew up when I was learning about football and growing up watching football. Refrigerator Perry scored his only touchdown ever in the Super Bowl. And Walter Payton, the best running back ever, ended up not getting a touchdown in that Super Bowl. Very, very strange. Anyway, back to stocks here real quick. If you guys are in the IONQ Anne-Marie Butterfly, and Amanda giving us an Anne-Marie update here. Amanda, love to have you back into the fold here. If you guys are in that IONQ Anne-Marie Butterfly, which she gave out to pro members, it's time to look at your call vertical. It's getting touched. IONQ here, we are actually above 51 earlier here today. IONQ, massive winner on that quantum theme.
Vuzix is taken off.
Fairchild, I can tell that you're from Green Bay because he says you also had to live through the Super Bowl shuffle as if it was something bad. It wasn't. I have that, by the way, on VHS 2 somewhere. Yeah, somewhere I have that. Shout out to my dad for doing all that stuff. I don't know where I'd be without him. So okay, what else we got going on here? GFAI looks like that did pop. That's coming back in a little bit. We'll see if this sets up for another trade here. Nvidia almost at the all-time highs. Not surprised, especially considering some of the call buying that we saw earlier on Nvidia. This continued. Someone called this early 150, 151 and a half now on Nvidia.
Is the CEO speaking?
I don't know if he's doing it now. I don't. Let's check to see if we got any news headlines out of here. Let me quickly check. Surges in Monday's pre-market ahead of Jensen Huang's keynote. Let's see if it gives the actual time in here. You might be finding it out faster than I am. Yeah, this one doesn't mention exactly when. CES trade show in Vegas. So it's in Vegas. It's what, 8:30 in Vegas? People are just going to sleep.
Trying to shake off that hangover and wake up and wash off all the hookers and blow.
Whew.
I may have been. Okay, here we go. On NVIDIA, he plans to deliver keynote address at 9:30 Eastern.
Okay, so that
already happened.
That already happened. Okay. Mo here mentioning that everything is kind of tapering off, everything but the SPY. So some of these littler plays that we're kind of watching, and it looks like those maybe are tapering off. SPY here at the high is looking like a 600 test coming. As Izzy just mentioned, Amazon, this also at the highs. Did Tesla turn around yet? Let's see. Tesla actually tried to push lower here, but is turning around. We'll see if Tesla can get back above its VWAP there, 418. See what else we had here. Costco kind of came back in a little. Tyson coming back in a little. How are the Qs holding up here? They were leading earlier. Q's still leading here, up 1.7%.
Cooler rebounded and recaptured its VWAP. Waiting to see if this goes higher. Intraday high is 398. Vuzix, this one's just taken off now. 572.73. This thing is.
This was a monster call by you. I should have taken this with you, 13. This was just an absolutely great. You had talked about this before this really even had the volume flow going higher.
This goes back to what I was saying earlier. If you keep a journal or you keep notes, write down CES 2025 as a reminder for next year when we have the next one. Small companies like this are going to, if they're there and they have a platform, they're going to potentially have moves. Of course, the market breadth does also help. So the fact that we were trending up was already going to help lift these, but. Either way, keep a note about CES because it's really good for tech stocks.
Here you go, Fubo curling. We might be trading back up here. Watch Fubo on another potential run to $4 here. Volume is starting to expand again. This is what we want to see. Fubo looking all right here. No position for me, but watch this one if you're looking for it. Christoph, nice to see you. Smoke Tuna mentioning feels like a take your profit and run away kind of day. I'm with you on that. Don't be afraid to take gains if you get them. I had one scalp today on ARBE, and that's it in the prop account. I did not do very much. Swing account's pumping, though. Thank you, ONDS.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see what happens here with Fubo because it's got a nice setup. The MACD's curling up. I mean, just needs the volume to expand, and this could go back up into the fours.
SPRC, this looks like this is coming all the way back in. Yep, this is coming back all the way to its VWAP. We'll see if it bounces here. SPRC. ARBE, one of those robotic stocks. This went back to its VWAP, did not have the strength to get above the VWAP, and has now returned back to the lows. We'll see if this can hold, 3? The dead low there is 363, but realistically, 375 might be a spot to watch.
Kathy Wood had a whole bunch of Vuzix.
Hollow news. Oh no, what on earth is going on with this? Okay, so this is a pop on volume here. You guys are saying this is accompanied by some news. Micro Cloud Hologram launches a new computing paradigm, digital analog quantum computing. DAQC. New brand of computational paradigm, digital simulated quantum computing.
Huh. Didn't they just come up with some other terminology? Or not come up because we figured out it wasn't, but like something that had to do with, I don't even know if I want to, get into it.
Yeah, I'm going to, okay, so that's definitely correct, right? Announced the launch of a brand new computer. Okay, so there is news here. It is popping the stock. That's moving it. So whether or not the news is any good is a secondary. It's clearly the news post here is popping, but I just don't know how great this is. Judging by what we were just talking about taking your profits, I would say if you're in this, I wouldn't be afraid to scale out of this one. I feel like this could kind of roll back over. Looks like several of you, Hollow, no touch. Hollow will take over NVIDIA. I don't think that's going to happen, Webcoin.
Buys them out, right?
Oh, man. Hollow, this is still trying to pump here. Aura, looks like you're trading this here. It's a nice move off that $4 level. TRUG. I'll talk about golf stocks even if they're under $1, Crimp Biscuit. But True Golf here looks like this is ramping on volume. Looks like a nice little 80-cent breakout here is what sent this. 103. Looks like this is popping higher here as well.
Fubo's still looking good. It might move better once it gets over 4.
MSTR continuing to push to highs now, 364.
FGL Founder Group. This might be the recapture of VWAP we've been waiting for. Let's see if it can get up to 235 and take that out. But it seems like FGL might start to get going. I don't want to say it is. It's a big might. But the fact that we've got this close over view.
There it goes, dude. All you had to do, I was just watching it happen. I'm like, he's talking about it and it's going to go while he's talking about it. And sure enough, it popped a little bit. It's coming back in here. But what we really want to see, I love the deep sigh. What we really want to see here is see some more of this volume kind of continue to expand here. I think 250 going to be your next target if that happens.
Hope everybody's enjoying the show.
How happy are you with TRUG? I don't have any of it. I don't own it. I don't just buy it just because I like something. But you know what? Kind of looking at this now, maybe I should have Jaywalker. Maybe I should have traded this earlier. Nice little move here on volume for this penny stock.
That was just really funny. That move with FGL, that was just really funny.
It literally happened as you were saying it.
I'm all like, oh, it might be doing this. And it says, okay, you know what? Fine. Jeez.
Clean Spark getting mentioned here, so that's going to move with some of those Bitcoin plays. I guess we better check in on some of the other Bitcoin plays here. CLSK, this one of them. This holding on to $11 here. This actually had a big move on Friday. Mara and Riot, probably the other two favorites here. Mara's holding in here. It's holding the pre-market highs, but this really hasn't moved higher like Bitcoin has. Riot has moved a little bit higher, but still kind of muted.
Did we really get that price action out of Tesla? Looks like we did. We got that drop. I think this is when we were talking with Matt. We got a drop in Tesla down to
412,
about 412, and then it rebounded. So I would, I'd be wanting this if I was in Tesla. I'd be wanting this to go back up and try and test that 200 EMA again. But I'm sorry, the 20-day SMA again. But the fact that it's holding above 415 is encouraging. That's what we need to see if we're going to go higher. Okay. Well, it looks like we're getting some consolidation from BlackBerry. Don't know about FGL. It was a nice pop, but that might be all it's got.
GFAI has come back in. That's flirting with its VWAP. It actually looks like it may lose that VWAP.
SGMT might go here.
There it is. Ooh, what's that high spot in there? 690.
Yeah, I got 691. It looks like if it just got it, just enough volume, it needs to take out $7, and that might get it going here. But we need to see that expansion probably in the next couple of minutes.
MSTR is the best of the Bitcoin plays. I mean, it's the one. It's the most popular one. I would say an honorable mention there to Coin. Coinbase also having a great day with this move in Bitcoin, by the way. I give you an honorable mention to that one as well. G-Man mentioning RCAT. I'm surprised we haven't even really taken a look at RCAT here today.
Yeah, drones. That's the other thing we should have been looking at too.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I did a little bit. RCAT actually doing well here, holding positive about 9.5%. Watch this 1450 area.
Interesting how, and this is not a drone play. This is an eVTOL play, but interesting how Archer's kind of just been sideways all day. Like got up to 1184 in the pre-market. Ever since we've opened, we've just been kind of riding the VWAP mostly. Which is interesting, because at some point that's going to change, and we might get a breakdown or a breakout. So that's keep an eye on Archer for volume change.
I'll tell you what, I was right to keep my little position when it was a bag, knowing that I'd eventually be able to get out of it, but I definitely sold it a little too soon. It's doing a pretty good job holding above double digits here at 11.5. I do think, though, we had just talked about Matt with the market doing some type of correction, and how he was mentioning that might set up for a more healthy long-term market. And I agree with him 100% there. But I do think some names like Archer, if that happens, these names are going to get hit pretty good.
Yeah. Speaking of getting hit, it seems like a lot of these names that we were trading this morning that were having pretty good days, they just all took a big hit. So Cooler looks like they got hit. NBIS. Not that one. Fubo pulled a little bit. Bud, SGMT's sideways. BlackBerry pulled a bit. Vuzix did. All these in the past a few minutes have just all pulled a little bit. What's going on with the broader market? The broader market pull?
SPY's still up there. I mean, a little bit, but it basically just pulled off of its high.
Wow, we're almost back up to 600 again. How about that?
LAZR, it's a nice little staircase formation. This is actually about to trade its average volume.
So there's some news that might be really bad.
Which?
So it's on the SPY headlines, but it says the Pentagon Federal Register has added Chinese firms Tencent, Cattle, Altel, Changzhen Memory Technologies, Quictel Wireless to the list of U.S. firms alleged to help Beijing's military. Tencent and Cattle, those are two names you don't want to see on a potential banned list.
Okay, that news there, 10:30.
Yeah.
Now, Cattle, CATL, is that ticker CATL that we've traded that before?
I don't think it's ticker CATL.
No,
but that is the largest battery manufacturer, I believe, in the world, and it's out of China. That could affect all kinds of industries. It could probably affect Tesla. It could affect a lot of these, maybe some of these eVTOL names. So the Cattle makes a ton of batteries. Archer 1170 getting smacked down. What's up? Sorry, what?
I'm just looking into something here. Hang on a sec.
Oh, Cooler really coming in. Maybe that's bad news for Cooler. Fewer battery fires. Cooler doesn't need Cooler doesn't get as much business because Cattle batteries catch on fire. Watt is popping. Time to buy some puts with which stocks? With Moses. Some of those. You're talking about the names I mentioned on that Pentagon list, the Federal Register. I mean, it's just the Federal Register. It's not a banned list, but the fact that the Pentagon is flagging them, that's not great for news for those companies. It's especially when you have consider the new Congress that we had.
Real quickly here, sorry, what I was looking up briefly, we have the market shortened by President Carter's funeral observance this week. Next week, it's not shortened. The following week, January 20th, is MLK Day, and the market is closed that Monday.
Okay, so we haven't had too many weeks lately where we've had a full week.
No, we haven't. That's exactly what I was looking up. It turns out that next week is going to be the first one in several where it should be a full trading session.
Hopefully,
Okay.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see how the market takes it. I mean, I think, let's see, which day is the MLK Day?
I have it here observed January 20th, Monday in 2025.
The day that President Trump gets inaugurated.
Inauguration. Is that really?
Yeah.
So the market is closed on Inauguration Day.
Yes.
I'll be damned. Well, there you go. I don't even think I realized it until in this second right now that was the case. So the market's going to be closed on Inauguration Day. Okay, we'll see if that makes a difference.
It could. It could be. It could. Yeah, I mean, it could. I think that's one of the things the market was looking forward to. RCAT pushing up. That was one of the things that the market was looking forward to. So in my mind, if we don't get that, or if we're not able to trade on a day that she gets when was that inauguration anyway? Because if it was like it's in the afternoon, I was just wondering if it's after the market closes or not, because it would make a difference then.
No, I don't think it's during market hours. Yeah, it's during market hours.
Or it would have been.
It would have been. Yeah, sorry. It would have.
No, I got you. So gosh, that's interesting. Yeah, exactly, Jay Walker. I'm just like, you can't trade on the day that a new president comes in office. I don't know. It kind of makes you wonder. Does that mean that you're going to see a lot of selling on that Friday? Which would be, let's see.
Well, that's gonna set us up for a long weekend. A long weekend with a potential macro event. Yeah, I could see that. I think you're right.
Not only that, but here's what else is happening. So that's going to be next week. That's the week where a lot of these big earnings start to come in, right? So Wednesday the 15th. That's when I think Goldman Sachs, the banks, a lot of the banks are starting to report.
I think you're right.
So
you're right on that timing.
We get a lot of those big earnings reports going into a longer weekend, and we can't trade I feel like that might end up causing some selling. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but that's kind of where my mind's at the moment. All right, what are we still working with here? It looks like GMT is trying to get into 7. BlackBerry had a nice bounce off of VWAP. That's trying to push up further into 4. Vuzix looks like it might be rolling over. If it cannot get support around 540, then I think this does go down to VWAP, maybe even lower.
It's funny, really quickly. I was just kind of pulling up the earnings calendar for that date just because we were talking about it 13. Mm-hmm. And it turns out, just out of happenstance, SMCI reports that day. NBIS reports that day, which we're talking about. You were correct with some of the banks, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, USB, JPM. But then also FGL reports that day. GFAI reports that day. Rich Tech Robotics reports that day. SPRC, just interesting. It was just really interesting. That week that we were just talking about actually has some of the small runners that we're seeing this today report during that week. Okay, interesting.
Well, let's take a look at one more thing. I want to see if there's any companies that are reporting on the 20th. See if they had already planned to not report on that day as a result of
Watt. Sorry to interrupt here, but Watt, this is spiking on volume. This is representing another leg up here in the regular session. Remember, we traded up out of the open on some smaller yet expanding volume. Now we have the big volume pop here, big pop up to 140 there.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any companies reporting that day. That's a good point, Bigabees. And here's the thing, too, to add to that. Assassinations were up in 2024.
Not a great stat.
Nope, but one we shouldn't ignore. Okay, so all of a sudden, it seems like these movers that we were looking at are polling again.
OKLO. This is another one. Someone had mentioned this earlier on OKLO. Really good stuff here. So this trading higher on volume here, this above 30. And remember, this was a Friday. We had some recent news here. Hydrogen tax credit rules that were loosened. That actually drove this higher here. You could see the performance that we had on Friday. But the bigger news here, 13, look at this. Remember when you had me draw this trend line?
Yeah.
We just took it out again here. Now, the last couple of times that we traded above this, we did end up coming back in. So maybe we'll see that here on OKLO, a retracement move. This measures to about 24 to 25. OKLO, I'm not in this one here today. 11.5%, really good stuff. I wouldn't chase this move here, but notable move here today.
Yeah, so wait to see what happens with this move. I mean, if you've already taken your profit or traded this, congratulations, you probably have a really good day under your belt. But as far as this trend line goes and what's going to happen next, we've already seen this trend line, the price get rejected at this trend line 2 or 3 times. Here's a fourth. What needs to happen is it has to close above this trend line, and it may end up back testing it. And if it does, it needs to get support from the trend line as well. And then that would actually give us some confidence that this goes higher. Keep in mind the RSI is almost at 70, so there should be some back test regardless. Oh, RCAT just had an engulfing candle. Lots of these names coming in.
I was just going to say, Fubo actually looks like this might make another run at 4 here on Fubo. Just be careful with that one.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself, Lion.
Ticker line. Yeah, the volume in these names needs to be a lot better.
GFAI, Megal, both of those not looking great. NNE, by the way, we just talked about OKLO. NNE, this is also moving higher here. I'm willing to bet SMR is doing the same thing. Yep, same type of deal on all 3 of those charts there. Stop the presses. Mullen is up 6% here on volume. That was just for Jay.
Looks like the market might be weakening a bit here.
SPY holding up here just shy of 600. Really does not have the strength to get above it. I've also seen the volume is dying down here, but it's doing a good job holding higher here. NASDAQ, same deal. Same with the Dow.
Yeah, I have a previous all-time high of 599.61 that it could still run up to. Now, so far this today, it's been having a hard time just recapturing 599. So if it cannot do it the next attempt or two, then we're likely going to start to roll over and come towards the other previous all-time high of 596.65. Really does look like the market's getting tired here. Volume in the market has really started to slow down. How much we traded today? Almost 13 million shares. Not bad. Seems like today the news has just been, crypto, and what's so funny?
Just the jokes about Mullen, how everyone's taking that as a joke.
SMR is doing good. RHE down to the 65 EMA. This incidentally is where the price action was getting support in the pre-market. So Seems to be that the RHE is at an area where if it does not get the support, then we are going to lose 4 and go much lower.
So yeah, I'm with you on that 100%. This looks tough. And shout out, I believe Tuna mentioned earlier when this thing lost VWAP. Tuna, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that you said that this thing might be done for the day, and it sure looks like that's the case here. Let me know if I got that right.
Yeah, for me, it's done for the day if it loses 4, because that's where the pre-market support was after the initial pop.
So Jay, this is a good question. So Jay's saying, out of NNE, SMR, and OKLO, which one do you like the best? Me personally, I like OKLO the best, but that's because that's the one I've been watching and trading the most out of those 3 names. I don't know that that's the best company. All of them have really run substantially from where they were at. And I'm
Speaking
still
of run,
yeah.
SGMT is running. Sorry.
No, it's all good. This is indeed, this is actually breaking out of that 7 level and going higher. Yeah, Smoke Tuna. I thought so. I thought so. That was a great call, by the way. We're going to give that a 1 up too. Sometimes the calls that stop you from losing money are just as valuable as the calls that help make you money. Tuna, that was a great one. Good stuff yet again here today. Bonjour indeed.
SGMT's really going now. It broke through all those highs that it was making in this fourth quarter we just finished. Where does it go? It can go to, I mean, it's coming up to some resistance levels pretty soon. If we get more of this, maybe it goes to 755. I see another spot at in the 8s. Don't exactly know how much we're going to get out of this one, but we could. I mean, maybe it goes to 10. And if it does, 1045 seems to be an interesting resistance level.
Big B's mentioning that Bitcoin's really pushing here. Bitcoin just grinding higher here, 103.5 on the futures chart. That move through 100, serving it well as it looks like it continues to trade a little bit higher.
I would think that maybe once we hit 105K, it runs into some resistance. We'll see what happens at 105.
Vuzi here, this came back into its VWAP and actually bounced. That was pretty good. Yeah, NNE was below 3. Indeed it was. Buzz Lightyear, take care of yourself, man. Thanks for stopping by here today. Good luck with the rest of your day. Stay green and profitable, boss.
SGMT pulled after hitting 738. Looks like things are just kind of trying to find some support at this point. Still getting that support from RHE. The volume's really low, but at least the price action is what we were looking for here, getting a bounce off that $4 area where the pre-market was getting support earlier. So see if that continues, but I don't know if it will with how low the volume is. We need to see better volume in order to move up towards the VWAP. Cooler also trying to hold above the 200 EMA. Actually, it's trying to contend with getting or holding the pre-market support. So that might be another reason for this rebound here in Cooler.
Smoke Tuna saying, Ryan, when are you crossing the pond? Open invitation. No plans to. It happened again here. Why couldn't you have just waited a few minutes till we actually could have ended the show? Then you would have done it at the right time. Anyway, Smoke Tuna, Ryan, when are you crossing the pond? Open invitation. Believe me, you will be one of the first people that I inform when I do that. No plans as of right now to do that, though, Smoke Tuna. Sorry. I will keep you posted when we are able to do that. I can't wait to take a wine recommendation from Smoke Tuna himself. That's going to be something else. RHE so far held 4, but 13. I'm with you. I think that eventually gives way here today. Fubo trading sideways. We'll see if it has enough strength to move through 4 the opposite direction to the north. Amanda saying, I better get back to work. Have a great day. Thanks for the lunch money, Tuna. There you go. Tuna making everybody money. Amanda, good luck with the rest of your workday. We'll see you. Thanks again for all your support. And thanks for help championing Anne-Marie. does a great job making our subscribers money.
When do we get to have her on again?
Tomorrow.
All right, so we need to come up with some options ideas.
Yep, and I'm sure we will. The close today might present some more opportunities. We'll do I'm sure some of the charts that we share in happy hour today, depending on how the rest of the day shakes out, we'll have no shortage going into tomorrow. That's for sure. Actually, I think there was one we were supposed to recap. Oh, but that's for Friday. Okay, I think we talked about this. Yeah, I think we talked about JPM. I think we talked about.
No, I think it was Delta or whatever the ones that are reporting this week. I thought she was referring to. JPM is next week. Delta reports.
Yeah, you might be right. We'll ask her. We're gonna have her on. We're gonna have her on tomorrow. Okay. Take care, Jay Michael. We got like 2 minutes. We got like 2 minutes left here. Let me see. Was there any other big news that we needed? I think we covered all of the news flow that came out.
Yeah, and it's just going to be a matter of keeping our eye on CES and the news that comes out of there.
Yeah.
It seems like some of the movers we were looking at are trying to turn around here. Like Fubo looks like it's trying to go into the fours. It might actually do it here if the volume expands enough. Yep. Looks like Bud's trying to get up to 50. Don't know that it will. SGMT had a pop and drop. It hasn't dropped beneath its breakout level, so hopefully get some support there. Vuzik's trying to turn around. Not sure that's going to be successful. Cooler, just missing around between 346 and 398. So you got a 50-cent range to play with today.
Really quickly, Tom, can you put JPM on the list for her last earnings was a success with the butterfly? Yes, we absolutely can do that. No problem at all. Okay, 13, we are done here. You got any closing words for the group?
Well, folks, just keep an eye on the CES 2025 and see if you can get some trades out of that. Don't get into anything risky because this market doesn't seem like it's really rewarding these risky plays today. You get some movement and then it just kind of takes it away from you. So just be careful trading today. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll have some more movers. It'll be a fun day. So I'll see you then.
Yep, indeed we will. Take care, 13. Again, everyone, thanks for all your support here today on Benzinga's pre-market playbook. We will